and hit the... All right. Well, Kufar, Akbar, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Cross and the Crescent discussion group. We are a YouTube live stream program that comes on every Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. That'd be 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday afternoon. We're here generally for about 2 hours. I've been wrapping it up a little bit early. Last week we stayed to 2 hours. We even went a little bit longer. I was a little late for church. But that's kind of a change that we made after we came back in January. We moved the time from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 4 o'clock, and which kind of frees up a little more of the Sunday for me. Like today, we had the Caffer kid over here with the Caffer grandkids and the little 1.5-year-old one. And she is so much fun. I mean, kids at that age are I don't know. You get on your hands and knees and you're chasing them all. It's just too much fun. Those of you who are not grandparents yet, it's a good gig. It really is. Last night
I just became a grandparent.
Oh, well, congratulations, Ed. Well, you know, okay, you know the deal. I mean, it's a different kind of feeling that you never thought was there. And it's very special. It really is. God has truly blessed me and my family and Ed with his. What do you do? The boy or girl, Ed?
It was a girl. And she's a beautiful little girl. Went there, did the deal, going there all the time now.
Yeah, you can't stay away.
My daughter nuts. Yep.
It's like a drug. I mean, hey, I'm coming by. Is that okay? Well, thanks. I'll be there in a minute. Sorry. That's what you do. I mean, that's what. I don't know. It's just a really good gig. Okay, so today, what are we doing today? Today, and we need to thank our friend Isa for choosing the topic for us today. And we're going to get to it. We're going to be talking about why Israel has a right to the Holy Land. And, when we start talking about, we'll get to, I'm not going to spoil that. But what I wanted to lead off with was a little ruckus I had with, and this guy, him and I are friends on Facebook. He's a Muslim, but him and I are friends, and we understand each other. We understand, we think that the other one is full of it, and, we're all destined to hell, and, there's nothing can save us, But he sent me, he initially sent me a message on Facebook Messenger saying, "You're a liar." And he would never say that to me. This guy would never say, and I wouldn't say that to him either. I would just say, we have these cordial discussions. If there ever is such an animal that you can have with Muslims, this is it. This is where him and we actually get along. And we keep it, it's not personal to us. It is personal, but I mean, it's not, we don't get personal with it. And he sends me this message this week and says, "You're a liar." I can't believe that you said it. And I'm like, what the heck is this out of? And I replied, I said, can you tell me what I'm, guys thought it was maybe something I said on my show, something I did or whatever. And he says, I tagged you. Well, he can't, the tag. Okay. Now I figured this out. The tag is to a video made by a certain Lion Adawa, self-proclaimed Lion Adawa. And whenever he tagged me in it, I think this Lion Adawa has me blocked, so therefore I couldn't see it. And I'm like, can you at least tell me what it's about? And he won't say anything. And I was starting to get mad, so I finally called him. I said, look, dude, you're going to accuse me of this. You got to at least tell me what's going on here. So he sends me this, and you all tell me. Let me see here. Share tab audio.
I haven't seen bigger cowards besides Muslims ever.
Well, this guy. Okay, now this guy. When him and I get into it, it's normally on the up and up. I mean, he'll cite his sources. Okay, but I told him, I said, look, you're accusing me of something. You're not, number one, telling me what it is, and number two, every time you share a video with me, it doesn't go through. So I don't know what you're doing over there.
Yep.
So he finally, okay, now listen, he finally takes a picture, he films it with his phone, and this is what he sends me. Okay, you tell me if you can hear this when I hit play. Now, this is from a show, I can't remember. Can you guys hear that?
Nope.
You cannot hear that.
No, we can't hear it. And I see I'm there too.
You don't have it ported out, bro.
Okay. All right. I don't have it. What now?
You don't have it ported out.
What does that mean?
That means you don't have I use Voicemeeter to play external type recordings, stuff like that, outside. You have to port this stuff out to be able to get other folks to hear it.
Okay. What's the link?
Yeah, send me the link and I can probably play it for you.
Okay, hold on just a second. Let me see if I can do it one more time. Let's see, video file. Okay, hold on. Maybe I can do this. Here we go. Okay.
Is this the one where it says that you...
Rad.
Is this the one where Rod...
Yeah, we can hear it now.
Yeah, we can hear it. Yeah.
All right.
I'm pretty sure I know what this is.
All right. So...
yeah, because weren't you sent this to, Isa?
I sent this to you too. Yes.
Hold on just a second. Hold on.
Yeah, evidently I caused some controversy when I dropped it. Yeah, there was...
It was the joke that he made.
I don't... Could you guys hear the Queen in the background?
We could hear something yelling.
Okay,
at you.
she was out there. She's got her headphones and she's out weed eating today. I made her go out and weed out in the heat.
That's right. Put it to work.
I'm kidding. Don't. Anyway, she's got her earbuds in and she's singing really loudly.
Oh, okay.
And I thought maybe that wouldn't be.
All right.
Okay, so this guy takes this video. He gets his camera out or his phone out, and he takes a picture of this, and this is what he sends me. All right, let me make this full size and play it.
Well, it's not funny.
It was pretty funny. I laughed. Because this Muslima woman pulled out of her driveway and totally cut me off. And they sat down the bike, and then they got out with AK-47s, and I had to fight them off. So the jihad was averted.
Okay, so now I'm the bad guy. Hold on. Listen, hold on. Here we go. This is what really happened.
Radical Margaret. And so here we go.
Oh, by the way, I want everybody to know. that music got flagged in the countries of Belarus and Russia. Just to say, all of our fans in Russia, I apologize to our fans in Russia and Belarus.
All our thousands of loyal followers.
That's Aerosmith, bro. Come on, man. Did you put the disclaimer up? That's Aerosmith.
I did.
Come on, man.
I got it. Now I wonder if I'm going to get banned for playing it on now. That's I don't know. That's terrible.
I totally blew my open. I had the wrong camera.
The Holy Sepulchre in the mortar. You okay, Dad?
Yeah. Shit.
What happened?
I dropped the bike.
Oh no!
Oh
You can go
All right, now listen to what this guy does.
You hit somebody? Somebody pull in front of you or what?
no. Yeah, someone pulled out in front of me and I had to drop it.
You want me to exercise where you work that out?
Oh, I'm back up. Thank you, sir.
I saw some road rash, man.
Wow.
That was excitement.
Yeah, we got that up. We got that live.
Oh,
We've been waiting for this shot for a long time. You sure you're okay?
yeah.
All right. I want to make sure.
No, in a second. Oh, just to let you know, the reason why I wouldn't
That's not
right
good.
away is the sensors in the safety feature.
I tell you what, I'm going to put you backstage, you work things out, and then when you're ready
It
to go
sounds
back
like
on, you
Darth
give me an eye
Vader
sign.
trying to.
All right, sounds good.
All right, brother.
Looks like him too.
Okay. So
So-
here's the. Go ahead.
Yeah, where did you lie now? I'm waiting. He's
Well,
accused of lying, right?
No. See, this is the thing. This is why this guy is too stupid to understand satire. Remember when he played at the video? He goes, "Oh well, Rad said that this woman jumped out with an AK. This Muslima woman, and he thinks that Rad is serious.
It was
This
a
is how
joke.
Yeah, this is how
Rod
stupid this
makes
man
a lot
is.
of jokes. Rod makes jokes. He has dark humor. Like
Okay.
that's what it is.
But see, Marshall doesn't understand that, so he sends it to all of his Facebook friends, saying, "Look at these guys; they're a bunch of liars." And I'm thinking,
Wait.
what type of moron does this? Well, this
Are
one.
we talking about that little girl, Marshall Gregory?
Yes.
Dude,
The
really?
He's not.
Method Marshall.
He is such a little girl.
He's
Oh my
nice.
God.
He
He's Method Marshall. I like Method Marshall, but I don't know. He's
I
mad
think
at
he's, I think he's
I mean-
a nice guy.
You know how many times I jab slapped that little girl?
Jab slap. Oh boy, yeah, we're send all hate mail too.
That kid,
Anyway,
that little girl, all he does, all
Not-
she does
he's
is get online and whine. That's all
he's a-
she does. Whine, whine,
he's-
whine.
he's a grown man. He's a grandfather too. But no. Anyway, first of all, you mean you guys didn't believe that a bunch of Muslimas in hijabs pulled out with AK-47s and I fought them off? I mean, that's not believable. You're not taking me
Well,
seriously, man.
well,
Struggle's
especially
real.
when you're breathing like Darth Vader in your mask, trying to catch your
Right.
breath from getting from dumping your bike.
I'm still laughing. Marshall Gregory.
But this is the thing. This is what he does, though. The guy's like a cancer. He just never goes away. He's
He's
just
a little
always-
girl.
That's all he does.
But
And
dude, here's the funny thing. Issa got messages. You got messages.
we sent him to
knows.
Issa. Issa got a message.
I
Yeah,
mean,
Really?
we were talking,
Yeah.
and he's been very nice to me. I think it's. I wish we could have a more clearing conversation about all of this.
Wait
you
a
know?
minute. He's been nice to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he
No,
thinks you're a
Marshall.
Muslim, man. He thinks you're a Muslim.
Wait, hold on. In all fairness, Ed Van Halen, Marshall's like our little pet mascot. He really is. We kind of like him. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a jerk, but I kind of like him. I've grown fond of him. Kind of like fungus. It kind of grows on you. But no, seriously.
Well, I think he took it literally speaking. I think that's what
Yeah.
happened. Is he took it literally, and I'm like, the thing is, when you get to know, like, I've spent a long time getting to know you, Rad. We've talked for several years now. You
Right.
joke, you make jokes. Like you. The other clip is about the Banu Qurayza incident, which is a
Okay.
very controversial, problematic situation. Which there's ways of defenses for it, but it's very problematic. Where basically the Banu Qurayza was a Jewish tribe that did according what, like, for traditional Muslims, did like treason and backed up this other group of people. And so basically they were tried, and then they were all put to death by an arbiter. So that's the issue. So then Rad made a joke about that particular incident, saying, hey, why didn't the Prophet of Islam just kill all the Jews? And it was like he was referring to that incident.
Well, no, I said too bad he killed all the Jews. Otherwise, he could have learned something. Okay.
Oh yeah, too bad. Sorry.
Yeah,
That's it.
but wasn't that Islamic books, right?
Yeah,
That's Islamic books. Yeah. So
in
it's crap.
traditional Sunni narrative, there are people that challenge it. Not all Muslims believe this. Some Muslims believe it's a fabrication, but a lot of traditional Muslims do accept this point of view, and that's the argument. They say it was a treasonous situation. That's why it was done. So,
right. Well, either way, Marshall said that I was being anti-Semitic when I said that. I'm like, what the dude?
Yeah.
Like I said.
Okay, so Muslims are Jews now.
I don't get it. But anyway, Marshall's back, so
let me just show you something.
Log on your Facebook.
That's hilarious.
Let me show you guys something. Okay, you see this? This is a stack of emails Marshall has sent to me over the years. There are over 2,000 of these things. 2,000 emails that I've received from this guy. He's like I said, the guy is nuts. I've said this several times before on this show. I got called into the FBI, the local FBI office, because of this clown.
Yeah, he's probably on the list, man.
Okay, but so when he sends this kind of stuff to my friends on Facebook, I'm like, well, come on, and you're going to believe him? And that's what got my undies in a bunch on that. I'm saying, are you going to believe him, or are you going to actually think that that's real?
Yeah,
he wants you to believe it. All right, he wants you to believe it. That's how bad this guy. That's how bad off this guy is.
Yeah.
And this dude, literally, him and some other nutcase, they took the picture they got of me getting off the bike a long time ago. Okay, you can clearly see my face at the time. And they put it through Google Images search, and they found it. Evidently, Eric was messing with me because I'm on the train when this is all going on, so it's all coming on my phone. I'm telling Eric, "Hey, try this. Put this image through," and he's like, "Dude, this is you." I'm like, "Oh, what the hell? No." All these, evidently, my face looks like a lot of pedophiles on Google Images.
No. It was amazing how many people that are charged with pedophilia look exactly like Rad does.
Well, they don't look exactly
like me. Oh, wow.
No, that's what...
like, this is crazy. We got 15 people here. They got rap sheets this long, and they all look like Rad. I can see why.
They should call them Rad sheets.
Rad sheet. There you go.
Anyway, well, they found this dude that looks nothing like me. And who was in jail at the time, in Wisconsin, serving time for
Janesville.
To Rock County Prison, for doing his parole violation, but he was twice convicted of pedophilia. And he was also an extremely violent individual. Anyway, they made videos and posted this all over that this was me. And I'm like, dude, it's not me. They're like, yes, it is. And I'm like, no, you're not. Link after link, they said. Marshall says, it was your own mother. She contacted us. She's so disgusting. My own mother can't even operate a computer. Right? Yeah, that's believable. Oh, and then all kinds of Christians confirmed it with them. People I would not even expect, people from the show. So clearly Eric ratted me out because he found all the pictures. But no, seriously, this is the student, and I'm like looking at this, and in the video they made and the stuff they shared, you can see he was arrested in September, and I got a video me and Eric meeting for the evidently they released this dude so we could go, or he could go and meet up with Eric in Chicago at the Chicago Marathon. Okay. I mean, no, but the dude was still in prison until May, and this, they believed it. They said,
but like I said, nobody's ever going to accuse Marshall of being smart, and that's one charge he will never be able to be charged with And I get it, John. Yeah, John says that you're giving him free advertisement, and maybe
he
he needs
promotes
it.
our show.
He's always going to go, stay away from the Eric the Caffer show,
Crossing
because
the Crescent.
don't go there. And the next thing you know, I'm getting 600 views in the next week. So whatever.
So that's why we like
Hilarious.
Marshall. He's our best show promoter.
Yeah, he's just you get used to it after a while. All right, so let's get to the topic. We're 22
All right.
minutes into the show, and let's go ahead and get to the topic. I'm sorry. Okay, so do the Jews have the right to the Holy Land? That was what we decided that we're going to talk about because it came up in a conversation last week, and one of the biggest complaints about the Jews having possession of the Holy Land today is because it was once held exclusively by Muslims. And if you read in Islamic literature, it says that any land that Muslims hold can never be returned to the infidels, can never be returned to Christians or Jews. For an example, Spain and Al-Andalus, that this is, let's say that we did, or Israel did, turn the land back over to Muslims because they had once held it. Does anybody here think for a second that is where it stops?
No.
Exactly?
And on top of that,
but I would say that if there was if the settlers were removed, then there would be an ethical position that would allow Israel to have it would get more legitimacy. I'm not saying it would be agreed upon, but
okay. So when you say settlers, what do you
the
mean
settlers
by
who are Gaza, the settlers who are in the land that is not agreed upon. There are certain settlers on land in
we call
Gaza,
those
West Bank.
we call those neighborhoods. When they call people call them settlements, but we call them neighborhoods.
I mean, you could say that, but according to agreements, that's a problem.
No, it's not. Well, I tell you what, we're going to have this conversation, and
okay, sure.
I want to have it. However, let me go through this, and then maybe this can
afterwards. No problem.
Set a basis for what we're talking about. So let's go ahead.
All right, I'm going to come on my computer. By the way, just letting you know, I'm shifting from my phone to my computer.
Okay, cool. I'll bring
if you can add me there, thank you.
All right, so 4 basic questions here. Who has the right to the Holy Land? What evidence do we have for this? Why is there conflict over it today? And what we as Christians can do to support Israel. So does Israel have a right? Do the Jews have a right to the Holy Land? Well, let's take a look at the Bible. I mean, look at Genesis, the Torah, that we're supposedly supposed to find Muhammad in. You go to Genesis 12:1-3, and it says, God's promising Abraham, and I will make of you a great nation. I will bless you. I will bless those who bless you. So he's going to bless Abraham and make him a great nation. And where are they going to go? It's right here. It says, go from your country. Hold on. Let me do this. Go from your country. He was located in the land of Chaldees, which is modern day Iraq. Is Basra is the region that he's in. And he says that he's going to give him that land. So according to Genesis, this belongs to Abraham and his descendants. And you go to chapter 15, and he makes this covenant with Abraham. And in this covenant, God is the one that says that I am the one that's going to be responsible for this covenant. Abraham didn't even make or agree to it. God put him to sleep. Right here. So deep sleep fell on Abraham, and it was God who walked through the covenant itself. And he says, to your offspring, I give this land. Well, what land is that? Well, it's the land from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. That is a lot of land that he's giving Abraham and his descendants. Well, who are his descendants? Well, if we look, it says, and your offspring shall possess the gate of his enemies, and your offspring shall all the nations of the earth be blessed because you have obeyed my. And this is Abraham's obedience. Abraham was obedient to a fault, folks. He's called out of his homeland. He goes to a land that he does not know that existed. He's made a promise. But think about this. Just think about this. Okay, God makes Abraham a promise. He says, your descendants will possess this land. The guy is in his 90s, and God's promising your descendants. How can he have, and Sarah's in her 80s, how can they have children? This is what and you're going to believe this, God? that's telling you this. This is why Abraham, like I said, is obedient to God to a fault, because even after Isaac is born, the child of promise, not Ishmael, Isaac, he goes to sacrifice Isaac. And this is the child. God said you're going to sacrifice, and this is where he proves his obedience to God. Now, people can argue that Abraham thought that, well, God, this is the child of promise. God's going to resurrect Isaac. You can make all kinds of arguments for it, but the fact of the matter is because of his obedience, God gave him this land. All right, so we agree that the land was given to Abraham. And I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven. And I also bring you up again. Let's see here. So Israel, Jacob. Okay, wait a second. I think I skipped. Did I skip Isaac? Yes, this is the land. This is the promise made to Isaac right here. Is promised the land in 26:25. I will multiply your offspring because Abraham obeyed my voice. Okay, so Isaac is now given the promise. Notice it's not Ishmael. Ishmael is told that he will make a great nation of Ishmael, but he will not. The covenant between God and Abraham is not passed to Ishmael. That is critically important. Okay, and then it's sent to Jacob, who then becomes Israel, and then you have the 12 tribes. And the words that the Lord has spoken will do. Okay, so then after the 12 tribes, they go into bondage in Egypt. And when they come out of Egypt, you have the 12 separate tribes, and Moses is leading them out. Notice there are not any Muslims with them. There are not any people from Egypt with them. There are not any Arabs with them. These are Jews, not Arabs. These are Jews. The book of the covenant, and read it, and all that the Lord has spoken will do, and will be obedient. So this is Moses. And then Ishmael, okay, this is what I mentioned before. But notice he says, Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him and will make him fruit, multiplying greatly. He shall father 12 princes, and I'll make him into a great nation. But look at this word here. But I will establish my covenant with who? Isaac. Not Ishmael. With Isaac. And then that is passed down through Jacob. Now, notice here are the nations that somebody came up on mic. Who was it?
That was me.
Oh, what's up? What's up? Go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say something really quick and let you continue, but nowhere in Islamic writings, anywhere, especially the old manuscripts, can we find a tie between Ishmael and Muhammad. Does not exist. Period.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I've seen, and you may be more familiar with this than I am, Ed, but there is some type of lineage out there where they have drawn this up from Ishmael to Muhammad.
Yeah, well,
There's a text.
it's a bunch of crap.
Right.
It's a bunch of crap. It doesn't even come close to the biblical age of the manuscripts that we have. And the manuscripts that we have now, and I'm going to let you finish, but I've got a couple of verses that I need to read to you from the book of Revelation. After you get done with this,
No. Ed, I tell you what, when you get your slideshow together that you promised me for 4.5 years now, you can read from the book of Revelation. But no, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just kidding. Okay. So you were going to say something? You were going to add to that?
I said there's a text called the Rahiq al-Maktum. There's a claim of lineage to Ishmael. It actually stops at an ancestor called Adnan.
Right.
And then there's a stop, and then it says from earlier on, Ishmael is the ancestor, but the text doesn't give you the full genealogy.
There is nothing from the biblical manuscripts whatsoever at all, period, nothing, zero, that even ties to Islamic writings whatsoever, period. I don't know how else I can say this. It does not exist, period.
Yeah, and the ones that they did have, and I'm willing to be wrong on this because I haven't looked at it for years. But the gaps between the generation, I mean, you have people that are going to have to be 300-400 years old in order to be, and I mean, this is around the first century, in the first century BC. So in order to make that tie, the genealogies, they're just they simply don't work out. So yeah, you're right.
Do you guys know the oldest manuscripts? Does anybody know um, the oldest manuscripts, what they are and what they date to?
Of what, the Bible?
Yep.
Or
And the Quran, both Bible and Quran. Does anybody know?
the oldest manuscripts of the complete manuscripts of the Torah would be the Dead Sea Scrolls, with the exception of Ruth. I don't think or Esther, one of the two, they don't have in there.
There's something that's older.
Well, what I'm saying is the complete compilation. So are you talking about? Because I know there's a small prayer. It's etched into silver, like it was rolled up. That's dated to around the 10th century.
The
Septuagint.
Well, the Septuagint is the translation of the Hebrew in 270 BC. That's 3rd century BC. The Dead Sea Scrolls. Well, the Dead Sea. What I'm saying is the Dead Sea Scrolls are supposed to be the Hebrew version of that. Before the Hebrew was translated. Go ahead.
Okay, let me interject here on the Dead Sea Scrolls as someone who has studied this extensively. No, I actually have all kinds of books on it. The Dead Sea Scrolls are proto-Masoretic text. Okay, in other words, they're in Hebrew, but they are not Masoretic. Actually, the readings, for the most part, match the Septuagint readings. Okay, so in other words, they were using an older Septuagint reading to do their translation in Hebrew. And what makes them unique, though, is that not only the majority match the Septuagint reading, but also they have their own unique reading, their unique style that is different from both the Septuagint and the later Masoretic text, okay, in certain portions and positions. But either way, okay, the DSS proves that the Septuagint, the Septuagint was, okay, the preferred reading at the time of Jesus, okay? That was considered holy, and that was considered sacred text. But anyway, I don't know how we got into that.
The LXX is way older. The LXX is way older, and it's in Greek, and well, it's also in Greek. That's why it's the Septuagint. But just to prove my point that the manuscripts that we have and our manuscript witness is so extensive and so early, there's no way on God's green earth that Islam could ever even could consider to compare to what we have. They can't even. They're not even in the same ballpark. It's a joke what they have, right?
Oh, we agree. Preaching to the choir here.
Right. Well, I was going to say, as far as the oldest Quran that we have, I think we brought this up last week. I might be wrong, but we brought it up here recently. Is the Sana manuscript?
Well, the oldest complete Quran. You got to get the oldest complete Quran. The Sana manuscript is not complete.
Right, I agree.
It doesn't have all the surahs. The oldest complete Quran manuscript that is in existence today dates back to, drum roll, 1924, guys.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. 1924.
Yes, Kafir, get your facts straight.
Well, hold on a second before you throw me out the window and under the bus and through the woods. Let me just say this. The Sana manuscript is even older than the Quran itself.
Yeah, but the Sana manuscript is written in Syriac. It's not Arabic.
That's the point I'm trying to make. That's the exact point I'm trying to make. It's the Quran before the Quran ever existed. So how can you have a Quran before Muhammad? And you can't. That's the problem. And it's a palimpsest. We went through this last week and the week before,
Right.
where it shows that even what they had before was changed to conform with what they have today. Because if it was written underneath, well, then this is supposed to be earlier. This is supposed to be, what Muhammad truly said. When the fact is that it's not. It does not conform with what we have today. So anyway, the point we're making here is that let's get back to somebody's echoing. Is that you, Paul? Hey, Paul.
Oh.
Welcome. How are you?
Oh, God bless you.
Well, I'm trying to. Hopefully, my sound is working better. But
Okay, listen to what I did on Thursday. Paul invited me to come onto a show on Thursday because he was talking about Qiblas. He said, "You want to talk about Qiblas?" And I'm like, "Yeah." But I had a church meeting. It was a public outreach committee that I'm on. Anyway. So I get to the meeting. It was at 5:00, and I said, "Look, I got to be out of here no later than 6:30. I got a podcast that I go to." So I come home and I pull up Paul's Skype message to me, and I click on it, and it says the broadcast is ended. So I'm sitting here cussing Paul. I'm like, "If you're gonna bite me, man, you're gonna you send me the link, and I come here and you cut it short, and you don't." I clicked on the wrong link. It's sent to the group chat. So I get up Friday morning. I got to thinking about it. That you didn't click on the right. You went to the wrong thing, you idiot. Anyway, so this Thursday, be there, be square at Paul's show. Okay, so let's get back to Genesis. Now, what we're talking about is the promises made, who they belong to, and who the land belongs to. So we start with Abraham. Then it's passed to Isaac. It's not sent to Ishmael. Ishmael is promised to make a great nation. That's right here. We talked about that. I'm going to make you a great nation. And these are the names of the son of Ishmael. They even make it into the Bible, for Pete's sake. Okay, so there you have that. But the covenant is with Isaac. It's not with Ishmael. And even when we go to Ishmael, we were just talking about it, you don't have the genealogies are completely incomplete if you're trying to get to Muhammad. So that can't even be demonstrated anyway. And then you get to the son of Isaac, who is Jacob. And Jacob you have Jacob and Esau, if you remember, it was Jacob and Esau. And Jacob is the one that receives the covenant. He receives the blessing from Isaac. And then it's his 12 sons, just biblical chronology here, folks. Those 12 sons, Joseph goes to Egypt, or actually is sold into slavery by you ever guess who? The Ishmaelites.
Ishmaelites, yeah.
So he's sold into slavery into Egypt, and he eventually rises to become second to only Pharaoh. And we all know the story where the father Jacob and all the brothers come to Egypt, and they reside there until a new Pharaoh rises up that didn't know Joseph, and that's when they're put into slavery. And then you have Moses beating everybody out, and God establishing his covenant with Moses at Sinai. Okay, now
real quick here. Wait, sorry, Eric. Real quick here. I just wanted to add. Someone's echoing. Paul, I think it's you. Are you echoing?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, just real quickly here with Isaac, with Israel. Okay. When you read Romans, Paul spells it out very quickly. Not everyone who is from Israel is Israel. Okay, we are born of the children. We are the children of the promise, not the children born to the slave woman in bondage.
Right. Yeah, that's Galatians.
Okay.
4. Galatians chapter 4.
Is it Galatians? I thought it was Romans.
That's Galatians.
I'm getting everything all confused.
You're fine. You're fine. But if you're right, it's right. It is Paul. It is Paul, right?
Paul. Oh, I got that right. But no, Paul spells it out. Okay, he defines it. Okay, just because. Okay, you're not born of the promise. Okay, if you are claiming to be an Ishmaelite. Okay, you are the son of the slave woman. You are born into bondage.
To the law.
You are not with us. Yes, to the law. You are not with us. So it's a total separate spiritual division and a physical division as well. But anyway, continue on.
Sure. Okay. All right. So now we need to look at what the Quran actually says, who the promise and covenant was established with. So let's go to the Quran, shall we? Yes, we shall. Let's go to chapter 2, verse 40. It says, "O children of Israel, remember my favor wherewith I favored you, and fulfill your part of the covenant." Oh, what covenant? The covenant God made with them. I shall fulfill my part of the covenant and fear me. Allah is always asking people to fear him. Why would that be? That's just counterintuitive. And then chapter 5, it says, "O my people, go into the Holy Land, which what? Allah hath ordained for you." So who does the land belong to? Does it belong
Oh,
to
the Jews. That belongs to the Jews.
Yeah, the Holy Land, which Allah hath ordained for you. So even
Oh,
in
there's
the
another
Quran,
problem here, though. There's another
What?
problem here.
Well,
The words Holy Land. When did that come out? Where did that come about? What does that tell you? Holy Land wasn't used until Christians were around. It's not something the Jews would use.
No, well, the Jews wouldn't call Jesus the Messiah either, like it does in chapter 4, verse 157. So, yeah, you're right.
Well, but that's a great point. Yeah, because I've thought about that too. The
It's the
Bible,
promised land to the Jews.
yes,
It's the Holy
Yahweh
Land for
says,
Christians.
right, Yahweh says promised land. So why is Allah talking like a Christian?
Well, it's because Allah has very limited vocabulary.
Yeah.
Allah, as we've shown
Good
the
point,
last
John.
couple of weeks, Allah is nothing more than the writings of rabbis, Syriac writers, apocryphal writers, people like that. That's who
Yeah.
Allah is. That's who Allah is.
Stolen
started-
ideas and
That's
fables, yes.
Please don't get me started on saying this about Allah.
Well, Eric, DL was in Dear Rocco's room, and Ray was going at him, right? About
why does he subject himself to that type of? Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so DL just said it bluntly: Allah's a demon. Allah's a demon.
There's no other way to explain
I
it.
mean, he said it just so calmly, because she was like, well, Allah had to correct the Bible, our God of the universe. And then he just, because they kept on muting him. So finally he just laid it out very calmly. Allah's a demon. They would click him, they would mute him. Then he would unmute and say, Allah's a demon. She just kept on yak, 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 yak. I made a video on that too. That was so fun to make though, man.
Post it in chat so everybody can
Okay.
watch it. Yeah, post it in chat.
It's too
Okay.
funny.
So what else does the Quran say about the Holy Land? Allah made a covenant of old with the children of Israel. What? A covenant? A covenant with Israel? Yes, he did. Okay, so let's just quickly summarize here. According to
So
the
if
Bible,
Allah made a covenant with Israel, what happens to Ishmael? I mean, that's 2 generations down the road.
Come on.
Okay, so here you have, and you're right. You're actually absolutely right. Israel is, even if they want to say, okay, well, who is Israel? Okay, Israel's are Jews. And that's always the direction that they sprint to when trying to defend what their own Quran says. But the bottom line is that the Bible is very explicit. Abraham, Isaac, not Ishmael, Abraham, Isaac, and then Jacob. And then Jacob has the 12 tribes that reside in Egypt. They're taken into captivity. They're finally, Moses in the Exodus. The 10 plagues of Israel or Egypt, and then the crossing and parting of the Red Sea, and then into the 40 years of wandering, and then they repossess the Holy Land. They repossess the Promised Land. Let's just put it that way. That's according to the Bible. The Quran turns around and affirms those promises that God made his covenant with Isaac, and he made it with the people with the people of Israel. He didn't make a covenant with Muhammad. He did not make a covenant with the Arab peoples. He promised Ishmael that he would make him a great nation, but like all nations throughout history, all great nations fade away into obscurity, and that's basically what we've seen with that people group, that they're claiming that they have some type of genealogical relationship to. All right, so let's look at some significant events in the history of Israel. We're getting to it, Isa. I promise you, brother. Promise you. Okay, so 1400, Joshua reclaims the Holy Land, or reclaims the Promised Land. Then you have the period of Judges, which lasts about 300 years. And then from there, you have the period of Kings. Of course, it starts with Saul and then goes to David, Solomon. And then you have a series of kings. The kingdom becomes divided. You have the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. And then in 721 or 968. And here's what's cool about this verse in excuse me, this verse in Kings. Uh-oh, what did I do here? Whoop, go back, Catherine. Right here. If you go to First Kings, okay. Let me pull this up real quick. First Kings, Judges, Ruth, Samuel, Kings. Here we go. First Kings, chapter 6. And I'm going to read from the. Stay with me. I'm here. Listen to this. Because when we start debating, did the Exodus occur? When did it occur? About 1200. People are saying about 1200 BC for the Exodus that never occurred. But if it did occur, it was 1200 BC. If you read 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 1, here's what it says. And it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Zip, which is the 2nd month, and he began to build the house of the Lord. Everybody agrees, I can't say everybody, but it was around 968 BC when the temple is built. Now, how many years does it say prior to this did Israel come out of Egypt? It says that it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel came out of the land of Egypt. So almost 500 years before is the Exodus. And that fits perfectly with the biblical timeline. I just wanted to make that point. I don't know why, but people talk about the Exodus never occurring, and if it did, it's in the wrong time. No, it's not. It's exactly where it's supposed to be.
Well, it would be dumb for Muslims to say that it didn't, because they confirm the Torah and the Gospel.
Yes, well said.
Right, but yet they still. Okay, you're
but
right.
Then they can't get the story about Moses correct in the Quran, so they have no clue what they're talking about.
And mostly all the stories. They may have the name right, but the story's all wrong.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
it's so pitiful. Sorry.
You're absolutely right, Connie. I mean, it's something as simple as, who drew Moses out of the water?
Well, it comes down to, I think it comes down to this, and it's a sad, sorry statement. Muhammad set one of the best examples of poor scholarship.
Yeah, being an idiot in the desert.
The guy had no clue what it meant to be factual and honest. In fact, he was a good liar, so the only thing he knew how to do was lie, and unfortunately, he didn't want anybody to record his lies. So,
Well, this is one lie that got recorded. He says that it was the wife of Pharaoh who drew Moses out of the Nile. Is that who was it that drew, according to the Bible, who drew Moses out of the Nile? It was the daughter of the Pharaoh, not the wife of the Pharaoh.
The daughter.
Yes, exactly.
It's something as simple as that, where you can't keep simple. Or Miriam is the sister of Moses, and Aaron is the same Mary, who is the mother of Jesus.
Right.
Okay, so that always makes me laugh. I mean, really, come on. How old was Mary? I mean,
well, she was 1400. She was 14. No, she was the 1400-year-old virgin. That's according to
that's what I was thinking. I was saying it
because if you go back to Moses, that's
oh my gosh,
yeah, that's.
And didn't they have to make up a lie for that to say, well, we call each other cousins, so there that lines up. It's like, this is stupid.
Well, this is where when we talk about how the hadith were. This is where you can make a strong case how the hadith were developed over a period of time. They were developed, these were not the actual sayings of the people at the time of Muhammad. These were made up. They had to make up lies in order to correct the known errors that were coming out by the dozens that we find in the Quran.
Right. Yeah, Quran's blunders.
Sister of was never used back then.
No, you're right.
Well, son. No, how'd it go? Sister. or brother. They would never use the son or daughter of back then.
Right. In Arab culture, everything was all about, it was probably the most misogynistic culture as you could possibly imagine. And they would not, I mean, when women were pretty much treated as possessions. And so they were not ever used, well, the sister of Aaron. Shut up. You're lying. And we know that you're lying. Okay. What is this? Who's this? Paul is saying, according to the Quran, Jacob knew that his sons were lying about the death of, say it again, you can't fool a prophet. According to the Quran, Jacob knew. What does that mean? Paul, you're going to have to explain that one more.
I think he's being sarcastic.
Oh, okay. All right. Then I'm missing it. And normally I can catch sarcasm pretty quick because a lot of you guys in the chat are pretty sarcastic. I like this one right here. This is Rob. Reading some of the prayers of Kafiristan.
Prayers of Kafiristan.
Okay. All right. So 968, the temple is built. And then here we have, let me get my laser thing. The kingdom, excuse me. The kingdom is divided. We have the northern kingdom, the southern kingdom, and then the northern kingdom is taken off into captivity by the Assyrian Empire. And then this southern kingdom is taken into captivity. Is that right? 608? I thought it was like 586.
I'm the wrong person for dates. I'm going to go to you.
Somebody can somebody fact check me on that? I don't, if I'm wrong, just tell me. I don't mind being wrong. Okay, but unlike the northern kingdom that was taken into captivity, the southern kingdom returns 70 years later. Now, I don't know if this dates are exact, but I'm willing to be wrong on that. I'm not. I know I'm not perfect. And then from there, you have temple worship is being restored. This is Ezra, Nehemiah stuff. And
they
then
said here 598.
Yeah, I just looked it up. 598.
Yep.
Yeah, 587 BCE. So you've been fact checked. Oh, we got to get a sound for that. Fact check.
Yep, I get that too. So we got 3 witnesses here.
Man,
Yeah, you're close though.
Pinocchios, man. I'm sorry. I apologize. So that, I was looking at it. I'm like,
See, you are a liar, Dr. Cuffer. You are a liar. You see, you just lied.
Oozing out of my pores. I'm sorry. Okay, so so we're saying here is it was 598, not what did I have here?
608.
Okay, so I'm off by 10
You're
years.
close.
All right, so the return would be 628
587 says, okay,
or 528 instead of 538. Am I correct on that? All right, so this would be 528, and then 2 years. But I do know it was 2 years after they returned that's when the temple sacrifice and worship system was restored. And then you have, of course, the temple's rebuilt, the walls and the gates are rebuilt. And then you have that 400 years of silence. And you have Herod expanding the Temple Mount. You have 33 AD, Jesus being crucified. I'm just, putting down, significant events in the history of Israel. And then 70 AD, of course, is the most significant event that's not mentioned anywhere in the New Testament, that the Second Temple is destroyed.
Eric?
Yep.
Yeah, I would rather have put it 33 AD, Jesus is crucified, buried, and risen from the dead. Thank you.
Yep.
What do I have?
Yep.
What
33
crucified?
AD. Yep.
Yeah, you just have his crucifixion. I'm just mincing here. I'm your college student, man. I'm your college student.
All right. Okay. Let me just tell you why I put it that way. Because these are events that all historians would agree upon. And when we talk about historians, when you say that he was crucified, this is true because that is a historical fact. Oh, by the way, if you ever get time, go to Chris Claus's channel, One Way Apologetics. He had a debate with what was the guy's? It doesn't matter. A Muslim. Dawa Central is the guy's name. About the crucifixion, And Chris, I mean, and this is where I think Chris is just dead wrong on this, but he wants to say that the Quran does not say that Jesus was crucified, but that it only alludes to it and says that the Jews, the claim about the Jews crucifying Jesus is wrong. But the Quran actually says that he did die.
He did die. Yeah.
In what was it, chapter 19, where it says something that
Yeah.
It says it 3 times.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Here's the
3
thing.
times it says Jesus was crucified in the Quran. 3
All right,
times.
so listen. Number one, no, that's right. I get it. You're absolutely right. I agree. That's what it does say that. But here's the problem: 99% of the Muslims in the world disagree with you. They will say
That's
because they can't read the Quran.
That's
Because they
because
disagree with the Quran. Yeah.
No, they don't read the Quran. Hello, they
True.
don't read it.
That's why they disagree with us, because they will not read their Quran. Okay, Eric, your turn.
Lack of scholarship.
Can I finish a train of thought here? Okay, so the death of Christ on a cross, is the most demonstrable historic event from the life of Christ. You have 15 separate historical references to the crucifixion of Christ. You don't get better attestation than that. So if the Quran says that Jesus did not die, the Quran says that Jesus did not die, and 99% of the Muslims in the world believe that the Quran doesn't say that Jesus didn't die on a cross, I would prefer. It makes our job as Christian apologists all the much easier to say that the Quran is obviously not from God. Why? Because the Quran says there in 4:1-7 that Jesus did not die. He was not crucified. Period. And most Muslims will agree with you. Okay, so turn around and tell me how you can go against a known historical fact. And they can't. So
They don't like history. They say we don't go by history. We only go by the
You're
Quran.
absolutely right. We covered that 2-3 weeks ago. What they do is they're going around, they're destroying archaeological evidence at the Temple Mount and all throughout Christendom in order to eradicate Christian history and Jewish history. And here's what?
It's too late. But it's too late.
What do you mean it's too late?
It's already been archived. It's too late. They can destroy all they want to. What they're destroying, the stuff they're destroying, is the stuff that they have in Iraq, where those events happened.
You're right. In Temple of Jonah or the Mosque of Jonah, yeah.
Exactly.
Those statues from Sargon II, those bearded men with the wings and stuff. Yep. But where was I going with this? Oh, okay. One important lesson to learn from the history of Israel as a country is the fact, and we were talking about it earlier, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Did you guys know the Dead Sea Scrolls clearly demonstrate that the Jews have a right to the Holy Land? These ancient documents, these 2,300-year-old documents, 2,300 years old, clearly show that Israel has a right to the Holy Land. Do you guys have any idea when
Israel
is into the Promised Land?
Yes, Israel.
Okay. Do you have any idea when the Israelis came in possession of those Dead Sea Scroll documents?
1947 or something like that?
Exactly. The day the country was founded, they came into possession of the Dead Sea Scrolls. An Arab boy.
An 18-year-old Arab.
There you go.
Yeah. And they went through, and they of course they made them into the black market and stuff, but they came in possession to demonstrate that they have a right to that land.
I am so glad that you brought this up, Eric, because my next question is going to be
multiple choice.
Okay. So do the Jews that are there today believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah?
The Jews that are in Israel today?
Yep.
No.
Not the rabbinic.
Some of them do, but many of them don't.
No, as a whole.
This is why I want to point everybody now to Revelation 3, verses 7 through 13, where it talks about the church of Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, "And to the angel of the church of Philadelphia write, these things saith he that is holy and he that is true, he that hath key of David, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth no man openeth. I know thy works, and behold, I set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast little strength, and thou hast kept my word, and thou hast not denied my name. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee." So what's going on here, guys?
You have people that aren't true Jews returning to the Holy Land,
No,
the Promised Land.
you have you have the Jews. You have the Jews that say they are and they're not,
Right.
bowing before the feet of the Christians. That's what's going on right here, right in that verse, right there. Boom.
Before thy feet. Okay, so when are they supposed to be worshiping before thy feet? This is a future. This is something. This is a prophecy.
Yep.
Okay.
This is in the prophecies. Yep.
Yeah, and okay, and I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to, you know what? I have your email, and I'm going to make a point of it to send you an email every morning at
Okay.
4:30, reminding
do.
you that you got to get this.
Please do that.
sent.
Please do, because I've got so much going on. I need that reminder. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Please
All
send
right.
it to me.
Well, I want you to, because you know, it just intrigues me when you start talking about not just that, but when you start talking about the modern Mecca and how the imagery there.
Yeah, Revelation
relates.
17. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay,
It's
well
all
then
there.
get it
And
done. You
well, it's actually been done, and I've told you it's done. And we did it in a movie called The Art of Imposture. We did all that already. It's done.
that's a little graphic though. We can't play that. On this
But
show.
dude, it's done. It
Okay.
shows it. I mean, how? I mean, all right.
We'll
Tell me
discuss.
the filters I need to put on. Okay.
Okay, well the ones where the
You
guys
know,
are getting their heads hacked off by
yeah.
these extremists. That's just that.
Well, you know, the Bible doesn't filter that out, but okay.
Okay, yeah, I get that. You're right. Okay, we were just reading that verse this morning, 16:2, John 16:2,
Hmm.
where it talks about they will persecute you, they will hate you, they will persecute you, they
Yep.
will put you out of the synagogues, they will kill you, thinking that they do a service for God.
Exactly.
We were talking about that this morning. Um, okay,
People need to see this. We don't need to dumb it down. They need to see it for what
and
it is. They need
it's
to see the
raw,
real
right?
part of it.
It's hard to watch. It really is. It's hard. Okay. It's hard to watch. But yeah, we'll talk
Okay.
offline. Okay.
Right.
Let's go back to okay. So you have the diaspora of the Jews, where they're displaced from their land and are finally allowed to come back, beginning in they came back before 1917. They were uh, building or buying lands in Israel. We'll talk a little more about that here in a couple minutes. 326, you have the Church of the Holy Sepulchre that is built. You have the Dome of the Rock being built after the invasion of Umar in 638. And then you have Abdal Malik building the Dome of the Rock in 691. And then you have the Ottoman Empire ruling coming to an end in 1917, which there you have the Balfour Declaration, and we'll talk about that here in a second. And you have the British Mandate ruling in this region of the world up until 1948. And here's the Balfour Declaration. And the Balfour Declaration is this promise made by the rulers of that land because at the conclusion of World War I and the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire. These lands went to the Allied powers, and this land fell to England, Great Britain, to rule over. And here's what they promised the Jews. They said, with the declaration of sympathy with the Jewish Zionist aspirations, His Majesty's government view with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. I would be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. So I wanted to say a couple things about this. Number one, people have demonized the word Zionism. All the word Zionism is this desire by Jewish people to go back to Israel, go back to the promised land that was given to their ancestors. That's all it means. And here you have England, the British government, saying, look, we've recognized that you want to go back to the Holy Land, and we are going to provide every opportunity for you, because for 14 flipping 100 years, you've had this occupation of a different faith group in those lands that has, number one, those Jews. Then there's always been Jews in the Holy Land. There always remained. They're not a large population, but there have always been a certain number of Jews in that land. But now what they're doing is they're saying, look, instead of being forced out, being prohibited from returning to your ancestral home, what we're going to do is we're going to start allowing it. And they did. So after the Balfour Declaration, you have this, I don't want to say it was a mass migration there, but there were all kinds of people immigrating to the Promised Land and repurchasing the land back from Arabs at extortionist prices, oh, by the way. And this is just the definition of Zionism. And this is a movement originally for the establishment of a Jewish nation or religious community in Palestine. And keep in mind, Palestine is that name that was given to that land by the Romans because of the Philistines. It was more kind of a stick in the eye against the Jews after 70 AD. So when we look at what the British mandate with the region that it did rule, here you have this area right here. Now this is, of course, Jordan, and then what is now Israel. You have Syria, of course, Lebanon up here. So yeah, when we start looking at Jews returning to their homeland, this is what the returning to their homeland is. Nothing but picks to till the soil, living in tents when they get there, but they're repossessing their land. Do you think that they had a desire to go back to their homeland? You're crazy if you're going to give up, well, I guess living under pogroms is nothing special, especially if you're in Russia or something like that. But they migrated there and sacrificed heavily to return to their lands, and they came from all over the world. So the bottom line is that they were returning to the Promised Land, to their lands prior to their establishment in 1948. But then the biggest travesty that occurred, of course, is the Holocaust that occurred during World War II. And, I could sit here and give you this long litany of things that happened to the Jews during the Holocaust, but, it's just, I don't know. It's just sad what happened to them. 6 million of them perish. That's 2/3 of the Jews in Europe died. 2/3. 90%. 9 out of every 10 Jewish children are murdered. When we start talking about the Jews during the Holocaust, you have 2/3 of them in Europe are killed. And when they go through the selection process, we're all aware what the selection process is. As soon as they transported them to these death camps, they would select out those who were able to work and those who were not. Those who were not were sent to the gas chambers. And who are the people that aren't able to work? Children. Mothers would willingly go with their children, obviously. I'm not sure if you guys all seen a movie that came out a number of years ago. I don't like Meryl Streep. I think she's a commie lib. But she came out with a movie, Sophie's Choice. Have you guys seen this movie?
Oh my God, yes.
I had to tear your guts out watching that movie. I mean, it's just terrible. But here a woman has to decide.
It's about the Holocaust, where she has to make a choice between one of her two children. Yeah, it's
right.
pretty cool.
When going through the selection process. And the only reason why the guy said it is because she was a Christian, but I think maybe her mom or her grandmother or something like that was a Jew, or so she just gets caught up. But anyway, it's just, so when we start talking about what happened to the Jews during the Holocaust, they had no place to go, folks. The United States, they had a ship come out of, I think it was Hungary, with 5,000 Jews on it, tried to disembark. I think it was in New York City or somewhere on the East Coast. They said, no, we're not going to let you in the country. Go back. So they go back.
And that actually is what Adolf Hitler is reported to say. They want us to do it. But real fun fact on this, because I've been studying this a lot lately. I've been listening to a lot of like The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. I highly recommend it. It's an epic tome, but you can get an audiobook. I mean, no, it's like huge. Okay, it's like 14 hours. But anyway, here's a fun fact. They wanted to deport. One of the things that was seriously discussed and looked into was the Nazis wanted to ship all the Jews of Europe to Israel. It's no joke. I mean, they were dead set serious on it. The only problem was Britain controlled the Holy Land. Britain controlled it. So they couldn't come to an agreement with Britain to deport all the Jews of Europe to Israel. So that's why it was dropped. And then they were going to do Madagascar, but that wasn't going to work. And then they did the whole, what was it? The conspiracy at the Weizen conference, which they spelled it out. And that was pretty much that. But yeah, the British and Americans, we double dealed. Dude. So the only thing we didn't do was murder them, but our government did say, nope, you can't come in.
Right. Our country has some culpability. Not nearly.
Oh, no.
Don't get me wrong. It's not nearly, the same as what the Nazis, or people.
And I remind you, it was a Democrat president, Democrat administration that did that. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Another thing with Democrat screwed us again.
But when we look at the Holocaust, I mean, this is. I mean, when you have a people group. When after the war, people during the war, they had an inkling of what was going, but when the magnitude of all this came out, and people were able to see the film footage of these camps and these bodies piled on top of each other, and they're bulldozing these bodies into the graves, and the footage from the Nuremberg trials starts coming out where they're machine gunning these people into these pits, and all of this evidence comes out. Is the Jewish people, this, and this is in light of all of the anti-Semitic feelings and treatment that the Jews had gone through for centuries by Christians, most and Muslims too. And let's just make sure we not exempt them from this, but by Christians.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. I really appreciate that honesty and accountability. I appreciate that.
It's a historical fact. We know this. It's a historical fact, and it's just like
there's a lot of dishonest people, though. There are a lot of dishonest people about this particular topic, and I've heard them. They will make excuses. They will say that Jews were bad people and they deserve this, particularly white supremacists. So I really appreciate that you're.
I've been called a white supremacist too, by the way. I don't know what.
Which is funny because you wouldn't be. I mean, a lot of this is a pretty diverse place. There's people of different colors here, so.
They don't. Well, this is the when we start talking about the people who make those accusations, they're religious supremacists, is what they are. So let's just make sure
white
we hold that.
Christian nationalists. No, but seriously, no. We failed. The United States of America failed. Dropped the ball in many ways.
Well, we didn't know. There was a lot of things we didn't know.
That's the thing. We had it. We did.
I'm going to tell you. My dad was a nose gunner, navigator, and a B-24 Liberator in World War II. All right, and he told me this stuff. Mm-hmm. He told me about what was going on. He said, and for the most part, we didn't know that this Holocaust, the killing of Jews, was going on. We had no idea, and we didn't.
We didn't know this.
He might not have known, but they were being told. Even the Red Cross was told in 1942 this was going on.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, by 1942. Okay. Yeah. Well, by then the war was in full force. The war was on, man.
We didn't bomb the camps. We didn't bomb the rail yards going to the camps. No, we didn't. Continue. No,
yes, we did.
No, we didn't. We did not.
All right.
No, we did not bomb the camps.
Would you guys stop? Listen, the The bottom line is that we had the country did have an idea of what was
Really.
Hold on, let me finish. The country, we did have an idea of what was going on, but we did not know the scale, the massive scale in which this was going on, because nobody in their right mind, everybody thought that everybody at this time, I mean, Hitler was man of the year, for crying out loud. Was it 38, 37, 38 or somewhere around there? But when we look, nobody understood the scale, the absolute massive scale in which they were using assets, military assets, to carry out this genocide. Nobody knew that. Now they had an idea of what was going on. A lot of the intelligence agencies, like Red mentioned, knew that this was being done. They had all kinds of reports of it, but they did not know the magnitude of it. Because why?
Okay.
Because in order to do something like this at this scale, you would have to sacrifice your military supply lines, especially being extended into Russia like they were. Who in the world would do that? Especially when you got,
have one.
Have one what?
They didn't have one. They didn't have a military supply line. That's what I'm trying to say. The Germans were so stupid. They didn't have the resources that they needed to do what they were doing. And I'm going to tell you something. My dad had frostbite from his knees down to his ankles, where they were marching him in 30. Let me see. What did he say? It was 32 below. 32 below. They were marching him. He didn't have anything on. You could see it. You could see it later on. You could see the frostbite that he got on his legs, where they were marching him 32 below in the snow to get to another camp, because they were bombing these camps. They were bombing the camp he was in.
And nobody's done
Don't
that.
tell me they weren't bombing the camp. Don't tell me they weren't bombing the camp.
Hold on a second.
No. I'm not going to hold on. I'm not going to hold on. No, dude.
I'm confused.
My dad was there.
I need you to clarify.
My dad was there.
I thought
Nobody's
your dad,
saying he's not.
I thought your dad was a tail gunner, not a Jew.
Yeah, he got shot. He got shot down over Germany, dude.
And
he was
we're
a
just
POW.
Ed. Nobody's saying that. Well, we're talking about the death camp. Stop it, Red. Just a second. Hold on.
All right.
The death camps were in Poland.
Yeah.
They weren't in Germany when we were bombing Germany. So
okay,
these
my
are
dad.
apples and
my
oranges
dad-
here. We're not doubting.
My dad was in Austria. All right.
And that is west.
Close
Again,
enough.
Well, no, not really.
Close
Okay, but
enough.
hold on. Then what was if your dad was a prisoner of war, then what was he doing in a death camp? This was strictly for certain people, not American.
They actually marched them through these areas, dude. I mean, I don't know how else I can tell you. He saw these places. He saw them.
Okay, that's nice. He saw these places. What I'm saying is, we have they did not bomb. They did not bomb Auschwitz. They did not bomb Buchenwald. They did not bomb these camps. The Jews were begging them
My
to bomb
dad said
them.
one of the camps that they bombed was Auschwitz. Are you kidding me?
Oh, they
Really?
didn't. They didn't. We have evidence that did not happen.
That they did not happen.
I actually, as a teenager, we had a British soldier, come in and talk to us about the liberation of the camps.
Okay.
And how they had to go through special training to go to the camps.
My dad's POW in Auschwitz.
They talked
25.
They talked about the liberation of these camps as
I have his mugshot.
the most horrible thing they'd ever seen. They had to be taught not to feed the people. They were only allowed to give them certain things because they hadn't eaten in so long, and the horrors. They express such horrors. I'm 58, and you think about that. That's 40 years ago, 40 some years ago, and it's still making an impression on my mind.
You know how much my dad weighed when he got home? You know how much my dad weighed when he got home? He weighed less than my mother did. He weighed 110 pounds when he got home.
That's horrifying. It's terrible.
That's horrible. And thank your father for his service.
Yes.
But,
my grandfather.
He's long gone. But I'm telling you what he told me in the pictures I saw, the pictures that I have. I have all that stuff. I still have all that stuff.
That,
So,
Ed, but
man,
you're talking two different things. You're talking two different things. You're talking prisoner of war camps, which again, if we did bomb, it was accidental because we're not going to bomb our own
okay.
prisoners of war. Although we did do that in Japan. Okay,
Yes,
but
we
we
did it in
deliberately
Germany too.
no.
We did it in Germany too. Yes, we did.
Again,
Yes,
right.
we
So,
did.
so now America committed a crime against its own soldiers. They
Dude,
murdered their own soldiers.
All right, guys.
Well,
Can
I
we
mean,
get back to
come
the
on,
topic?
dude.
Can
All
we-
right, all right.
let's
Let's
get
get
back
back
to
to
the
the
topic.
topic.
Let's get
look,
back to the
Let's get
like
back
topic.
to the
we
topic.
knew where they
This is-
were. Like we knew where they
And
were. Come
as
on,
I
Brad.
said,
Really?
as I said, as I
We knew
said,
where they were. Are
as
you
I
kidding
said.
me? Really? They
Then we
moved
didn't know.
them.
Whatever.
Did you
Okay.
not hear what I was saying? They marched them around from camp to camp to camp. They marched
Right.
them around
Okay.
in
So
30
that was in
below.
Auschwitz. Okay. All right.
So
All
I
right.
want
Let's
to
continue on. Let's
Do you
continue
mind
on.
if I add
Okay.
something about this point about the camps?
Sure. Go
I
ahead.
think this is really important to consider because it's a tragic thing within this conflict between Palestinians and Israelis and Jews, Muslims and Christians and Druze that are over there, is the situation that there's this false equivocation. And I have to call this out because this is a part where I cannot just accept this, where they say, hey, Israel is doing the Holocaust to Palestinians. It's not the same thing. If someone wants to say, hey, it's like Jim Crow, okay, maybe you might have an argument for that. But to say it's the Holocaust, you can't say that. It's nothing the same. And they said, oh, look, they're doing a bombing. I'm like, this is not like Zyklon B and putting people into gas chambers. It's a completely different situation. And we have to look at what this terrorist regime of Adolf Hitler, what it was doing. This terrorist regime was not just killing Jews, majority were Jews, but they killed Romani, which people call gypsies. They killed people, part of LGBTQIA+, whatever people feel here in this space. Killing anybody is wrong. I think we would all agree upon that. They killed people, dissenters, like there were Catholics, like Polish Catholics, who spoke against, they killed them too. He was a monstrous being, he was just a very evil being. And to equate the Holocaust to what's happening now, it's really disgusting and grotesque. If you want to say there are problems, I'm with you. We can go for that. But to call it a Holocaust, you can't do that. It's just unethical, in my opinion.
Exactly.
What's going to happen isn't going to hold a candle to what's coming, guys. I'm sorry, but the Holocaust isn't going to hold a candle to what's coming.
And if you get that slideshow ready, we'll be able to play it to let everybody know what's going to happen. Can we get back to this?
All right.
Get back to this.
Please get back to the topic.
That's some great conversation. A little heated, but that's okay. All right. So back to what we were talking about. The Jews returning to their homeland. Why? Okay, so now we understand that the reason why you have this world sympathy is because the magnitude of this thing is now being made public. They're being able to go out and show the public what actually happened to the Jews during the Holocaust. Why? Because they had no place to go. They have no place to flee to. So when they have no place to go, what happens? Well, they end up in gas chambers and their bodies incinerated. So in order to fix that, to keep that from happening again, they partitioned off the land. Now, keep in mind, this partition, look at how this is what was given to Israel in 1947 when they declared their independence. Is this little sliver of land, and all of this is Arab land, belonged to the Arab people. And so they get a little sliver of land to call their home. And they were supposed to actually get all of this land out here in what is now Jordan, but all of the Arabs were rising up and saying, we're never going to support that. We're never going to allow that. And so what they do is they say, okay, we'll just give them this little part here. Of course, who would reject this where, we give them just this little bit here. After all, look what happened to them. 2/3 of them were just killed off in 6 short years in Europe. Nobody is going to be against this, right? Wrong. Just as soon as they declare their independence, they're attacked by Egypt, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and also forces from Saudi Arabia. Folks, these guys, the day that they declared their independence, they are attacked by 7 Islamic countries. Why? Because they will not allow the Jews to exist, regardless of what just happened to them in Europe, to have their own homeland. And they're attacked. And as these armies are moving in to what is now Israel, into the promised land, promised to them by God through Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and all of the 12 tribes of Israel, promised to them by God, the invading forces tell the people that are in Gaza, the people that are in the West Bank, and the people that are up in Syria to get out of their way, let them come in. And when they after they push the Jews into the Mediterranean Sea, what they will do then is that they can come in and take the land from the Jews. The problem is they lost. They lost the war.
Headline. The headlines and the flyers and the news broadcasts from Arab radio stations was actually, "Get out of the way of our bullets. We are not coming for booty. We will let you have all the spoils of war. We are just here to kick the Jews out."
Right.
Okay. And you forgot to mention one other thing. When this happened, United States of America and Western Europe were led by the United States of America, again under another Democrat, Harry Truman, although I do like Harry Truman, probably one of the last of the great politicians there were. But either way, they did what? They put an arms embargo on Israel. No one from the Western NATO, well, they weren't NATO yet, but no one from the Western nations could sell arms to Israel. But that didn't matter to the communist Russians because they were selling arms to the Arabs. They couldn't get planes, they couldn't get nothing. The only place they could get stuff from was from Czechoslovakia, which was actually they had to smuggle it in because Czechoslovakia was trying to rebuild its economy. Yeah, just to let you know, another blunder of the great United States of America. Anyway, continue.
Thanks to the Democrats.
And wasn't it mentioned that some of the Israelis that were actually fighting said, or not the Israelis, but the enemies, Egypt, said that they saw these huge giants behind the guys from Israel attacking them? They were like, "Whoa!"
There are stories. I think that's from the '67 war, but I've heard that before, where the invading forces had all kinds of hallucinations, dreams.
Yes.
That Israel was much bigger and stronger than what it actually was. So there you have God's divine intervention into protecting his chosen people. Okay, so after the war, you have the Arabs in Gaza and Jordan are placed in refugee camps. Notice that they're not going back into Israel. Why? Because they were attacked from these places. Jews across the Arab. This is the important part to look at. Jews across all of the Arab world are ethnically cleansed out of their countries. And I mentioned this several times on this show before. When the Queen and I went to Israel a couple of years ago, we stayed 3 days with a Jewish family, and this Jewish family had its roots in Morocco. The parents of the family that we were staying had been forced out of Morocco, couldn't take anything with them, and they were living in kibbutzes in the middle of the desert for I don't know how many, I can't remember how many years he said, and they survived. But they came back to the Holy Land after they had been ethnically cleansed, after the parents had been ethnically cleansed out of the Arab countries. So when we start talking about, they have the right to return. Well, why doesn't Jordan take in the Arabs that voluntarily left Israel so their army could go and wipe out the Jews? Why don't the Egyptians take the people from the Gaza Strip and absorb them into Egypt? It would seem that your commonality in your worship of Allah would force you to do that. However, no, not so much. Okay, so and then Egypt and Jordan refused to accept the displaced persons as the right of return. And so this is what Israel looked like after the armistice lines in 1949 in their War of Independence. And then you have in 64, the PLO with Yasser Arafat is established in Egypt. And we all know Yasser, he was actually, he got a Nobel Peace Prize of all things. They give a terrorist, the day that the Nobel Committee gives a terrorist a peace prize is, you know, that the end is coming. The end draws nigh. And this guy was the pupil of the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, Amin al-Husseini. And we all know Husseini and his famous collaboration with who? Oh,
Adolf.
look at here. Look at this guy. Who's this guy? I think that looks
He's an
like
extremely problematic person. I don't know how anybody could really associate. Like, if you want to say you believe in Palestinian rights, okay, but you cannot support the Grand Mufti. You cannot support, you know, the evil Nazi regime. You just can't do it.
Well, this is what he did. Where do you think Hitler got the idea for the, you know, for the mass? Well, I guess Hitler had this idea, but, you know, for standing up of all of these Muslim, Arab and Muslim brigades that fought for the Nazis, it was this guy right here. Yasser Arafat wasn't even from Palestine. He was from Egypt, for crying out loud. And then this guy, look what this guy says about the Jews. Arabs rise as one man and fight for your sacred rights. Kill the Jews wherever you find them. This pleases God, history, and religion. This saves your honor. God is with us. So there you have this guy's student, Yasser Arafat, saying stuff like this. So when you have Yasser Arafat, if Yasser Arafat's on your side, you know you're on the wrong side. So, and here again, like you mentioned, this is a picture of him meeting with Adolf and collaborating with him. And then in 67, you have the 6-Day War. Israel is attacked from, this is Egypt, where they shut off the Straits of Tiran, which is right here. So the Elliot, you can't trade through Elliot anymore up in the Gulf of Aqaba. And you can't, they shut off the Suez Canal, which is right here. They move their army into the Sinai. Syria moves down into the Golan Heights. Jordan masses army on its borders with Israel. And then Israel, because now they had to shut down, folks, this is something that I was not aware of until I had gone and talked to these people that I stayed with, is that Israel, everything in Israel stopped. Their entire economy stopped. Everybody was called up when these armies started massing on their border. Everybody was called up because everybody in Israel is in the army, period. Everybody was called up. So they had to shut down everything. So instead of sitting there waiting to be attacked, Israel goes in and destroys the Air Force, the Egyptian Air Force, in 2 hours. Nobody thought that they could destroy they caught them on the ground, for Pete's sake. Syria and Lebanon, they attack. Syria attacks from the Golan Heights. Jordan attacked. Jordan was warned to stay out of it, and they did not. So they attacked from where? The West Bank. And Israel repels all of these attacks. Now, this is the important part, folks. The Arab armies signed a ceasefire. They started it, but yet they signed the ceasefire. Now, according to the laws of war, Israel is now entitled to take the West Bank and the Golan Heights, and they also were able to occupy the Sinai Peninsula. Again, they're gaining East Jerusalem, the West Bank. Now, when you look at the laws of warfare, I'm not sure if I have this on here. If you are an aggressor, this is the important part to understand. If you are an aggressing country, according to the laws of warfare, for example, Jordan, they attacked Israel from the West Bank. Syria attacked Israel from unprovoked, from the Golan Heights. Israel is entitled to keep that land which they took, defending themselves against your aggression. I want to make sure everybody understands that.
Sense. That's just law of common sense.
Well, but this is international law, though. So when Isa, I'm calling you out right now, when Issa starts talking about these settlements in the West Bank, these settlements in the Gaza Strip that Israel gave back, oh, by the way, and these settlements in the Golan Heights, those aren't settlements. That land belongs to the Israelis. Why? Because Jordan willingly attacked Israel, despite being warned to stay out of it. The same thing with Syria. Stay out of this. Because they were going to go to... Despite warning them to stay out of it, they attacked them anyway. And so when Israel repelled them, they are allowed under international law to possess that land as their own. Period. Now let's get back to this. I want to make sure everybody understands that point. So all of this land belongs to Israel now at the conclusion of the 67 war. Then you have the 3 no's from the Khartoum resolution. This is where no peace with Israel, no recognition of Israel, and no negotiations with Israel. And this eventually leads to the Yom Kippur War in 73. You also have the Munich attacks in 72 because Israel is possessing these lands to include the Sinai. And we all know what happened to this. There's a movie that was made about this a number of years ago. Yeah, it is. It was a really good movie about how they went out and they hunted down these people that that planned these attacks. It's a pretty good movie.
They got them all but one, and they killed some poor innocent mock.
I kind of want to engage that element of the settlements. Like, there are settlements in West Bank too, and it is a violation of the international law according to the Geneva Convention in Article 49. So it is against international law.
What is the
some of these
violation?
settlers?
The what?
Some of these settlers, it's against international law. You know, in
How is
Article
it against
49 of
international law?
Geneva Convention.
Okay, the Geneva Convention says what? What does the Geneva Convention say?
I can pull it up for you.
Well, you're gonna have to show me that one, because according to international law, if you are a country, Jordan, attacking Israel from that land, which they did, you give up all rights to that land. Period. The only reason.
Okay, so here it is. It says deportations. This is I can send the link too if you want to see it.
Put it in private chat. Yep.
I'll put it in the chat.
Deportation of who?
They're saying it's of the Palestinians. Forcible transfers, deportations of protected peoples from occupied territory.
Occupied by who?
Here, I'll send you the.
But I'm just trying to point out the language here.
Well, what they're saying.
They use.
The argument that's being used is that Palestinian people are being occupied. So that is, that's a view in international law. I see it as a very controversial, complex situation.
Wait a minute. Who is Palestine? Who is Palestine?
We're talking about the Arab citizens that are there. So Druze.
Okay, well, when you say Palestinian, that's not recognized, right?
I'm using that as the term that these folks call themselves. So.
Well, I understand that, but they're not Palestinians. They are Egyptians, Saudi Arabians, all of those mixes. They're not Palestinians. You understand what I'm saying?
They call themselves that. I mean, like, if someone said, they are they, them, theirs, I'm going to call them that. If that's what people.
Okay, well, that's fine.
I'm just saying. I'm going to respect people for whatever identity they want to call themselves.
Well, that's fine, but there's no such places as Palestine. Okay, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay,
and you can recognize it all day long, but there's no such place.
Okay, just to chime in here. Well, I agree with Ed on the point that up until Yasser Arafat, and this is the thing that changed kind of everything, there were no Palestinians. They did not consider themselves Palestinians. They were Egyptians. They were Jordanians. They were Syrians. They were Lebanese. Okay, all right, because each of these Arab regions, again, you got to put everything in the context. Before this, there was no nationalities of Arabs. They were all Arabs, okay? They just said they were from the land of Lebanon, or they spoke in a Lebanese dialect or a Syrian dialect. But up until World War I, Okay, at the end of World War One, they all considered themselves Arabs or part of the Ottoman Empire, loosely tied. Okay, then the British came in and screwed that all up because they sold them nationality, and well, that didn't go very well for them. But anyway, point being is this, okay? Up until Yasser Arafat, who was Egyptian until he became a Palestinian, which again, as Eric pointed out, was what they named the land. The Romans did because it was an insult because of saying you're Philistines, but that's beside the point. Okay. Up until this point, they were these different nationalities that were kind of made up other than Egyptian. Okay. But either way, point being is this, okay? Um, when they invaded and when the Arab nations invaded all the lands, again, they wanted them for their own territory. Okay, this wasn't to make a Palestinian state. This was to actually just kick the Jews out, and then the Egyptians would get their slice, which they didn't want Gaza, by the way. This is the funniest thing. They gave up Gaza because like them people are nuts. We don't want nothing to do with them. Okay, all right. But no, and Gaza's always been a problem. But point being is this: they wanted their own little slice of the pie. Okay, all right, this is empires. They were dividing this whole thing up. Okay, but then you have Yasser Arafat come along and he sold them this whole thing. No, we are Palestinians. We have a right to this land. Whereas I would agree, and I think, I would agree with Christians that, yeah, no, not really. Well, actually, the only people who have a right to the land is the people that can conquer it, subdue it, and maintain it. That's the only people that have right to land. I have a right. Okay, if I buy a house, I have a right to that land, but I don't. I lose that right if I don't make the payments on the mortgage or pay it up or keep up on the taxes or even maintain the property. Okay, and this is kind of the ultimate thing. Now, I think where I agree with Isa is the way is what is happening in these quote unquote occupied territories. There were agreements made by again another Democrat president, okay, called Jimmy Carter, okay, with with what's his name from Egypt, where we made peace with Egypt,
Anwar
and Egypt
Sadat.
would say. Anwar Sadat, where Egypt said, "Yeah, we don't want Gaza no more. We're giving that up. Screw that. We're leaving that alone. And we promise never
Well,
to invade Israel again."
let me get to this. Let me get to this.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I gotta break this down because
Right. Okay.
Paul makes a point here. He says that the right to occupy, but not the right to possess. The reason. Okay, here's the reasoning behind that. If you look at let's say, for example, the Ottoman Empire at the conclusion of World War One, or Germany at the conclusion of World War One, they were forced to give up all kinds of lands because they had attacked these other countries from those lands. So this is a precedent as established. I mean, back to World War One. So then you have World War Two. Germany again is forced. I mean, they go in and they reclaim the Sudetenland, the Rhineland, and then at the conclusion of World War II, they again are forced to give up these lands. Why? Because they were the aggressors during the war. Well, when you look at Israel in '67, Israel in '67 is attacked by Jordan, Syria, Egypt, and this is the part to pay attention to. Israel attacked Egypt first in the Sinai Peninsula. Why? Because Egypt had amassed their entire arm or a large portion of their army and was ready to attack Israel. So instead of waiting to be attacked, Israel preemptively attacks Egypt. So does Israel then have a right to take the Sinai Peninsula away from Egypt? And the answer, according to international laws of warfare, the answer is no. Why? Even though they were being provoked and they were, attack was imminent by Egypt, Israel was the aggressor, according to laws of international law. So Israel, well, we're getting to this, they give that back, but they do not have to give back the Golan Heights, and they do not have to give back the West Bank. Why? Because Syria attacks them from the northeast, and Jordan attacks them from the west. So they are not required under international law to return that land to those countries. despite the fact of those people that that lived there at that time, and they were not forcing them to move out either. Um,
And they foolishly did it.
yeah. Okay. So
That was their own folly.
Okay. So I'm just going to skip through the Yom Kippur War because I want to get to the attempts for peace. So you have the Camp David that we were just alluding to, and notice that the Sinai Peninsula is returned to Egypt, where you have the MOFOs, Multinational Peacekeeping Forces of the Reservers. My platoon, when I was in the 82nd, went over there for that.
Which have now been pulled out. There are no peacekeepers in Sinai. Just to let you know, they pulled.
No, of course that's not. And then you had the Oslo's Accord in '93. Then you had the second.
Another Democrat.
Yep.
Look at what happens. Democrat night intifada. No, seriously.
Okay, and then you have the Gaza Strip being returned to the Palestinian people in 2005. Buildings and businesses that belonged to the Jews there, they didn't take them. They destroyed them. They tore up
returned to?
The Palestinian, the people that were in Gaza Strip at that time.
Oh, okay, because I don't know who Palestinian people are.
I know. Okay, thank you for that reminder, Ed. Then you have Hamas. They said, okay, we're going to have free elections. So what do? They elect a terrorist group to rule over them.
And that's George Bush's fault.
Awesome.
Yeah.
George Bush's fault.
So the rocket attacks begin immediately against Israel. And this is kind of a snapshot of what happened in 2019.
Did Obama stop it? No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. Yeah.
Okay, well, no, let's get back to that. Go back to that slide because we got to unpack some of this stuff. I know we're running short on time, and I got a video I want to get to and play. But here, let's take a look at this. Do you see the pattern here? Camp David, 19th century, return of Sinai to Egypt. Okay, all right. Oslo Accords, again, another Democrat, 1993. Boom, you have the second Intifada. Okay, 2000. Okay. Oh, and by the way, what happened in 2001? September 11th, and they were all like out there celebrating it. I mean, amazing.
They were giving away candy. I remember seeing it on TV.
Yeah. Okay, so but then you have what's his name, who went to a coma right after this. What's his name? Ariel Sharon.
Right.
Okay. He just unilaterally says, well, again, everybody does not want Gaza because Gaza is just insanity. Gaza has always been a problem, even in biblical terms, even in biblical times, Old Testament times. Gaza has always been a problem for some reason. Okay, it's like biblical. But anyway, he just says, screw it. I'm going to give you Gaza. We don't want it. Nobody wants it. Okay, all right. And then, as you said, they went in. They had these greenhouses produced, okay, like a fourth or something of Europe's agriculture. Their produce, okay, was shipped to Europe from these Israeli-run greenhouses.
Well,
they pulled out.
Not all of those were the Gaza. They still have agriculture all over Israel that did not exist prior to the
right. Well, either way, these greenhouses, which were managed by the Israelis, run by the Israelis, and yes, they had quote unquote Palestinians, Ed, and unfortunately, yes, they are now Palestinians because the UN has recognized. Because of Clinton, because of Bush, because of Carter, they have now recognized that there is a Palestinian state, although they are working towards full autonomy. But either way, that's beside the point. Two-state solution, okay? Which Trump said, no, we're not doing that. Anyway, point being is this, okay? All right, they went in there, and what did they do? Instead of saying, hey, okay, let's take over and let's run these things, they destroyed these greenhouses, okay? Completely burned them to the ground. Okay, and then the ones that survived, they later had to call in the Israelis, even though they were working these greenhouses. They had to call them in and say, "Hey, we don't know how to manage these things." Okay, and you left out the part where the Israelis they okay. One of the things was okay. We're going to help you. We're going to help you build up your infrastructure. All the sewer pipes that they sent to Gaza, they turned them into rockets. They have the serial numbers of the pipes on the rockets that they sent to them. Okay, total complete mismanagement. Okay, all right, but okay. Anyway, I just wanted to unpack that. But here's the thing that I think Issa and me agree on this. Actually, I know me and Issa agree on this. Okay, there were these agreements that were made. Okay, fine. we're going to this is a disputed territory because we're not going to take the Israelis were like we're not going to take total control over it. We're going to leave it autonomous to whoever. They did make these agreements, and they did make agreements according to the Oslo Accords where they would not actually have other settlements in this area. The problem is, and actually the Israelis, they would remove these people on some occasions. You have these they're called Chabadniks, okay? These are the super ultra orthodox, okay, religious Jews. They would just first they would go in and they would just set up a trailer, and in that trailer all of a sudden is now a town, and they would build up this town, okay? And I want to get to a video where I can demonstrate this in Hebron of what they did, and I am telling you, they're sowing the seeds of their own destruction with this. This is not biblical what they are doing. And it is a horrendous thing what they're doing to these people. I mean, you make an agreement with people, hey, we're not going to bother you, we're not going to harass you, and then you go up and you bother them and harass you. It's just wrong. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, continue on.
Okay. So attempts for peace. Let's look at. Okay, so it was brought up that the UN had all of these. I think Israel. I don't. Did you cite the UN or did you cite the Geneva Accords, Issa?
Oh, sorry.
No, Issa. What did you cite? Are you there? Maybe
I'm here. Sorry, I just have to unmute. I said it was it's the Geneva Convention. Article 49. I put it in the chat too.
Okay, let me pull that up. Article 49.
And this is what people usually quote for like the human rights situation.
Or deported to evacuations. Okay, all right, but see, this is the thing that they're not. Israel is not guilty of these mass forcible transfers or deportations.
Well, some might argue like Nakba and stuff that this is something.
Well, they can argue that, but it's simply not true. When you have these people, this is when we looked at the initial founding of Israel. These people voluntarily. This wasn't the Israel ethnic cleansing these people out. These people left voluntarily. Why? At the advice of the advancing armies. So they do not have any right at all to return to that land. They left voluntarily. Now, granted, I'd get out of the way of a bunch of tanks and columns of soldiers coming down the road too. But the bottom line is that they left voluntarily, and Israel did not violate the Geneva Accords. And when we look at what the UN has done to Israel, let's take a look at some of these UN resolutions from 1955 to 2013. Calls on Israel to refrain from holding military parade in Jerusalem. Deeply deplores Israel military parade in Jerusalem. Censors Israel for administrative acts to change the status of Jerusalem. Deplores Israel changing of the status of condemns Israel for repeated attacks on Lebanon, even though Lebanon's attacking Israel. Deplores Israel's lack of cooperation. Determines that Israeli settlements, we call them neighborhoods in the United States. Settlements, where are these settlements? These settlements are in the West Bank and the Gaza, from where Israel was attacked from, and in the Golan Heights. That's where these settlements are, building settlements in occupied territory. They're not occupied. These are Israeli lands. Deplores Israel's settlements. Israel's claims to Jerusalem are null and void, despite the fact that Jordan attacked Israel from the West Bank. That is Israel's land according to the laws of warfare, international laws of warfare. Censors Israel, strongly condemns Israel, decides Israel annexation of the Syrian Golan Heights is null and void, and demands Israel rescind that. Why? What law can they possibly citing? What law or what's the word I'm looking for here? Example, can they go back and before and cite where Israel does not have the right to annex the Golan Heights? Where are you drawing this from? UN? Where are you drawing this information from? Where you have the right to censure Israel for annexing a territory that they were attacked from? Where's your precedent? That's the word I'm looking for. Where's the precedent for this? There is none.
Brother,
What?
brother, they're pulling it from the Quran, man. Come on, you should know that.
Well, okay. Quran does
Okay.
not apply. It's not
I
not valid in international law. I'm on a roll, Rad. Let me roll here.
okay. Roll, brother, roll.
All right. Okay.
We'll talk later.
Okay. Condemns Israel physically bombing the Tunisia in attack on the PLO headquarters. The what? The Palestinian Liberation Organization's headquarters. You know, those guys who are trying to kill you. We're condemning you for attacking the people who are attacking you.
Do you know why they were in Tunisia? Because the Jordanians kicked them out because they went to war with the Jordanians. That's another.
Okay, not to deport Palestinians. Palestinians of who? That are attacking them. Israel has defied the United Nations and deported Palestinian civilians. I would deeply doubt that. Condemns Israel for violence against Palestinians at the Haram al-Sharif Temple Mount. Oh, so when you're stoning Jews who are praying at the Western Wall and you react to it, well, then Israel gets condemned for that. Calls for safety. Okay, folks, 76 resolutions against one country for this. One country, 76 resolutions by the UN. Resolutions against the Palestinians, 1955 to 2013. Calls on the Palestinian Authority to, to meet its express commitment to ensure that those responsible for the terrorist acts are brought to justice by it. How many they got? One. You have one, folks. You have one UN resolution against the Palestinians, regardless of the fact that they're launching rockets into Israel indiscriminately. They get condemned one time. One flipping time. You tell me that's not a problem.
I guess we're seeing the pictures that's being painted of what will get Jesus to turn, right?
You go to 2018. You're right, Ed. Yeah, 2018. Israel is against UN resolutions against Israel in 2018. 21 of them. Iran once. North Korea one. Russia one. United States. They even had one against the United States. I wonder what we did in 2018. That was Trump. Oh, it's probably because we moved our embassy to Israel. That's probably why we got condemned. Hamas rocket attacks. Zero. China, 0. Turkey, 0. Iraq, 0. Venezuela, 0. But Israel, look at that, 21 UN resolutions against Israel. And you're going to try to tell me that the UN is not an anti-Semite, filled with a bunch of anti-Semite pigs? Are you kidding me?
See, that's why Trump was right. We should pull out of the UN. But
I want to add something too, if that's okay. If you don't mind, I just want to say one quick thing. I think an issue that you brought up that's fair. It's very fair about the there is this anti-Semitism where Jewish people are held to this other standard that other people aren't. I always compare Israel to Pakistan because I'm like, there's really no other greater comparison that exists. It comes around the same time, 1948. It's literally it's almost the same thing. It's creating a state for the protection of a certain religious class. It's like just beat by beat by beat. But no one really talks about Pakistan. Like, you don't hear about the same injunctions. We don't hear about Aga Yahya Khan in 1971, where he went to East Pakistan, which is now called Bangladesh. There's a reason why it's called Bangladesh now. And there was a genocide that occurred. No one talks about that. It just completely swept under the rug. And I didn't know about this until I did a master's degree in international peace and conflict resolution. Now, I'm a brown person. I'm a Desi. I'm South Asian. I didn't know anything about it. I had no idea until I was like researching. I had studied about Bosnia and Kosovo, and I was like looking at all these things, and this popped up, and I was like, what is this? What happened here? And I started reading all about it. I'm like, this is horrific. This is grotesque. No one even knows about it. It's like the genocide that no one knows about. But then then you'll hear, particularly Pakistani folks talking about the Nakba. They will, do virtue signaling and saying, look, how terrible Israel is, but they will never take accountability for their own history at all. And I mean, to me, that's horrific. You have to be accountable. You cannot go and say, I am this great hero, a patron saint of virtue, and then you're like covered in filthy clothes, covered in feces. You can't do that. You know what I mean? It doesn't work. It's like the emperor's new clothes. It's just like you don't have any clothes here to make this judgment. And it's like the thing is, if we want things to be better, Israel can be a lot better. That's where I stand on this. I'm like, there are problems. Like I was there. There's some issues. I hung out with the Bedouins there, and they were like, yeah, there's some issues here. But it's just like America. Do we have issues here with minorities here? Yeah, but we can fix them. You don't just say, let's abolish Israel. Let's abolish the United States. Let's abolish Pakistan. I don't even say that. I think these countries exist. Let's make them better. That's where I stand.
Well, the clear solution is to abolish the police, obviously, but no, um, but no. So this is where me and Issa agree on this topic here. I'm gonna share a video here. This is Hubadiah Street. By the way, you mentioned the settlements. No, there were agreements where Israel would have no new settlements in a region, and what you would have these Chabadniks, these religious Jews. By the way, they do not serve in the military. This is the key point. They do not serve in the military, but they decide who is a Jew and who is not a Jew. They control the judiciary, the Supreme Court. Okay, they have tremendous power. Although they do not serve in the military, they do not have any. They're not even police officers. They have nothing. They consider them to be the inheritors of the Levitical priesthood. Okay, but anyway, they set up, like I said, a trailer, and then all of a sudden, trailer all of a sudden it becomes a town. It's like, what the hell, dude? And they go harass him. But there's this thing in Hebron. Under the agreement, Hebron is controlled by, I'm sorry, Ed, the Palestinians. Like it or not, disagree with it or not, they are recognized. Okay, it was given that Hebron is controlled, okay, by the Palestinian Authority. Okay, all right. There were these Jews. It's a family. It's only 57 to 100 people, if that. This rabbi, this Abadnik rabbi, moved into a hotel with this family in 1950 something and took over the hotel. Just said, I'm not leaving. This is Jewish territory. This is before you know what I'm saying. Actually, it was after 1957 war. Okay, but anyway, moved into this hotel and said, no, I'm taking this over. It's on Hubadiah Street. Okay, all right. There is only like 100 people on this street, and they go and they harass, and they're the ones who are throwing rocks at their Palestinian neighbors because it's a two-level road. You got the under road and the upper road. Okay, and they throw rocks at them. So what was the Israelis' response? We're going to put up this big fence. Okay, just like in Ireland. But they're still throwing rocks. Well, not only that, but dude, they literally, and I'm going to show you this video. This is no joke, and you're going to see it. Okay, what they did was the Israelis went in. I forgot, in the early 2000s, where during the workday when everybody's out working, they went in and they welded shut and they put up cages around all the windows of all the Palestinian homes around this minor Palestinian or Israeli enclave, if you will, of this family. Okay, all right, on this street, and they closed the street off to these Palestinians who have been living there. Okay, all right. But here and dude, when the Israeli goes out, they have 3 or 4 soldiers assigned to the Israeli. And these soldiers are only there to protect this Israeli. And the Israelis, they go up and they totally harass the Palestinians. They totally insult them, spit on them. Okay? And if the Palestinian says, hey, what are you doing? And goes up to defend himself just to smack the idiot upside the head and say, you're not spitting on me. Okay? Then the Israeli soldier intervenes. Okay? But they're given carte blanche to do whatever they want on a street in Hebron, which is 99.9% Palestinian. Sorry, Ed, but they are. Arabs, whatever you want to call them, Muslims. Okay? But here, let me share this video and you will get the idea. And there's worse than this one. Believe me. Let me share this video. And I am sorry, this is wrong. This is sowing the seeds of your own destruction if you are doing this. This is stupid. Okay? Present. Hold on a second. Share screen. Where is it? Shemuta Street. Oh yeah, well it's actually Hubadiah Street, but it's called Shemuta Street. Okay, here we go. Go ahead and pull it up. Now, this cage that you're going to see this woman behind, this is what the Israelis put up to protect the Palestinian woman. I am not making this up.
Full screen
She's
there.
they're putting it in cages. Okay, I will. Here we go. All right. You ready? Here we go. You see the cage? You see the Israelis put that up. See the Israeli soldier? She goes in this woman's house and stops her.
Yeah, you got to keep them caged up, man.
Yeah, that was a joke, right?
See the Israeli soldier? He's not interfering with her.
Yeah, what a horrible thing to say. Well, I think the axiom is power corrupts absolutely. So it's grotesque.
But the point is, this is what's being done on this single street. Now, it has been stopped. They have now opened up the street. Hold on, I'm playing another video here.
I took it off.
Okay. Well, what's gonna?
Anyway,
Anyway,
I can show a lot worse stuff in Chicago, but bang bang, right?
No, you're not going to show. You're not going to show white people caging up black people in Chicago,
Okay,
and cops walking behind the white person saying, "Go ahead and insult these people in Chicago." You're
Is
not
that a
gonna see
challenge? Is that
Okay.
a challenge?
Yeah, that is a challenge. Go ahead and show me that. That's not
Okay.
happening. Seriously,
All right.
that's not
Oh my
happening.
God.
We're gonna check. We're gonna
It's
look
still
into that.
All right, Issa, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say that I think that it's an unethical situation, but that's the point that I bring up, because I bring up a humanistic position, because people can do bad things and we need to have accountability and we need to grow. So the thing is, we do have to understand also what's going on within the Israel government. It is terrifying. It's a very difficult experience to live within this situation. Jewish people have intergenerational trauma. I know my family has a lot of that. There's a lot of intergenerational trauma. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of fear that comes down through the ages. That's happening now too. It hasn't changed. And I would say most to all Jews have this trauma. And we have to consider that. And there's a lot of trauma that if you want to call them Palestinians, Arabs, Middle Eastern, Druze, Muslim, Christian, whatever you want to say about these groups, they are suffering too. Both of these communities are suffering, and they both need resources. They both need support. I definitely promote like a two-state solution. I think that's the best thing, or at least a unified kind of Switzerland solution. I'm not saying it will happen, but I want peace, and that's actually what Jewish people want. They want peace in this situation. They don't want to keep fighting anymore. They want to feel at peace. And is that going to happen? I don't know. I think people are angry and upset, but that is the ideal that I want. And that's what I always herald to. That's what I always bring up. I'm like, can we?
That's realistic, though. I mean, seriously. And let me just comment. Should a real quick comment at Rad over that video. We also have the Westboro Baptist Church folks who sat up here and protested the funerals of soldiers who died in forward deployed soldiers. So you can show.
Well, but is the U.S. military or the police protecting the Westboro Baptist Church people from actually going up and digging up the graves of these soldiers? Do you see what I'm saying? This is deliberate. This is the military that is behind in this Hebron Street. Their own job, they are assigned soldiers, okay? Where the soldiers only do. The Israeli can do whatever the hell they want, okay?
Okay, here's the point.
You see what I'm saying?
No, here's the point that I'm trying to make, is that every group has extremists. They have a bunch of assholes with them. I said that. I got in trouble for saying that. But I didn't get in trouble, but somebody was complaining, oh, he said asshole. Every group has a bunch of assholes with them. Unfortunately, these people that are in Israel are assholes. And instead of protecting them, I agree 100% with you. Instead of protecting them, you ought to put them in jail for assault. Is what you need to do, because there is such a thing in Israel, equal protection under the law, and that's what she should do. So if anybody, number one, she should have been arrested for um, um, going into the woman's house. Period. You go into her house, you're under arrest. But evidently, I'm not. I don't know the whole story behind that thing, and I don't want to comment any further on that. But the point that I want to drive home is that this hatred for one another, as you said, alluded to, is generational. And he mentioned the fact that the Jews want peace. Well, this is true, and they have actually demonstrated that they wanted peace repeatedly. By giving, I mean, they had land for peace. They gave back Gaza, and you look at some of the agreements that they've made that cost. Who was the Israeli prime minister who was assassinated? Was that
Begin?
Menachem Begin? No, it wasn't Menachem Begin. It was it Menachem Begin?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So I mean,
assassinated by one of the Habodniks. Yeah.
Yeah. See, so they're assassinating their own, their own prime ministers for crying out loud. So you can have tensions on the of the Let me get back to my original idea here. You have one side that has this deep-seating hatred for the other, and the other side, even though they probably hate the Palestinians for what they're doing to their country and what they do to the Israelis who are living there in the West Bank, in the Golan Heights. They probably hate them for that, but you have a desire for peace where you don't have that on the Palestinian side. And to say that you want a two-state solution is completely, as far from where I sit and from what I have seen, is unrealistic. The Palestinians don't want a two-state solution. They want their land back. So when you ask them, and I have a bunch of I can sit here, I play all kinds of dozens of video clips of interviewing Palestinians. To even mention that you want peace with the Jews will get you killed in these lands. Just to mention, your neighbors will take you out, kill you.
Well, that's why the Abraham Accords are such a winning strategy. The reason why they're doing this is because they get all this support from these Arab countries, okay? And they are told that unless you support this thing, and Issa brought up people in Pakistan that have nothing to do with Israel, okay? They're Pakistani, okay? But as Issa brought up, no, they have to, the Nakvla or whatever they call it, they have to be down with the cause, okay? It took on this thing because of these Arab dictatorial states who don't care about these people. Remember, they drove them out, okay, they're the ones that drove them out of their own land, and they put them in these refugee camps, which are now cities, okay? And guess what? I was going to bring this up. These Palestinians, even if they get a PhD, even if they get a doctorate in medicine, they cannot practice medicine in Lebanon and in Syria and in Jordan.
Who can?
The Palestinian refugees.
Why?
Because they are barred from practicing. There's like 20-something professions that these refugees cannot practice in, and they're all high level. They can't be doctors. I think they can be nurses, but they can't be doctors. Okay, but to be honest with you, I'd rather be treated by a nurse than a doctor because the nurse actually knows what the hell's going on. Doctor really doesn't. This is my seriously. Okay. Anyway, but they can't be doctors. They can't be engineers. They can't be what do you call it? They can't work in what do you call it? Ed works in what is it? HVAC? HVAC? Yeah, HVAC. They cannot work in these professions. Basically, if you want a restaurateur, that's why a lot of Palestinians own restaurants. Have you ever noticed that? A lot of Palestinians own restaurants because that's the only thing they could do. Okay? In these countries. No, they are treated more horribly, okay, by the people that drove them out of their own countries, promising them all the booty, okay, of the Israelis, okay, and put them in these camps, and these camps are sit because of the UN. The UN. Oh, this is another thing I want to bring up. Palestine, the Palestinian refugee crisis is the only crisis that has been continuous for the past 47, 50 years. In other words, okay, the refugee status to a Palestinian, okay, is lifetime. Whereas in other nations at conflict or war, refugee status is only for you and your immediate family that fled. Here they extended it to the Palestinians, where it's like, no, it's your original great grandfathers that fled during the 1947 war, and it's all the way down to their great 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 grandchildren forever. Okay, and they made them permanent refugees. They're basically people without a country. They have no passport.
This all comes back to where Jesus Christ says, until you come to me, it's not going to happen. Period. I don't care if you're Palestinian, if you're Jerusalem, or whatever. Until you are Christian with Jesus Christ, you can forget it. Period.
I wish I had Steve on this. He could testify to this, that they have that you basically, there's no, well, there might be now because later, but before, you did not have a Palestinian passport. You couldn't get a passport. You couldn't travel. You couldn't leave your area. You know what I mean? You were stuck in these, again, they were first camps, tents, and then they became trailers, and these trailers then became actual cities. Okay? Cities that are walled off, that they cannot go out and get a job. They cannot go out and work. True, they can get all kinds of education. You have the UN and they're educating them and giving them all kinds of PhDs, but they can't do anything with it. You see what I'm saying? They're stuck in limbo. They're stuck in stupidity. And you got them walled off. And dude, you can go to like, was it Spice News? They're dead now. Vice News. They got actual Vice did actual good documentaries back in the day, but they got where they're in Gaza, and these kids, these 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, like, what are we doing? We can't leave Gaza. When they say it's a prison, they really mean it. What are we gonna do? There are no jobs. And yes, we get fed very well. The UN gives us plenty of food. Actually, they are fed better than most people because they're not getting McDonald's. They're actually getting all the fresh fruits and vegetables and everything they need. And here they are. What are they doing? And there is a serious drug
Okay,
crisis.
let's look at their.
You know what I mean?
Let's look at their attitudes. Here's a video where we were talking about.
I agree with you on the attitude. I agree with you on it. Okay? Good.
All right.
بتفضلي انك تربيهم على السلام وعلى التعايش والحوار. شو بتفضلي؟ كيف؟
لا مش السلام والتعايش، يعني انه بلد محتلتنا، انه كيف بدي اخليهم
to like peace and dialogue. No, not coexistence and peace. I want to raise them to love this country.
لازم انا عندهم حب الوطن، انه هذا
I want to plant in them.
You see the worst of the worst in this job, but I do it to bring justice for victims and help.
تربية أطفالك بتحب تكون إنهم يقاوموا ويكرهوا إسرائيل ولا إنهم يتعايشوا معهم بسلام؟
الشعب الفلسطيني دائما وأبدا ضد الإرهاب ولو كل عمر الإرهابيين.
Palestinians, we are always against terrorism and we have never been terrorists.
بس احنا كنا يعني بنقاوم هذا بدافع عن حقها، يعني إن حق احنا في الأرض.
But when we resist because it's our right and we have a right in this land.
So which does he prefer? Which to teach his children to coexist or to resist?
أي تربية أنت بتحب تربيهم يتعايشوا بسلام ولا بتحب تربيهم يقاوموا؟
تعايش سلام.
We want coexistence and peace.
احنا ضد العنف وضد أي شيء، احنا بنحب نربي أولادنا على كويس. وعلى السلام وعلى نربيهم تربية كويسة وزين بدل البلدان.
And to be peaceful, okay? And
ونويهم سلام دائما وأبدا.
we want to teach them to live in forever peace. هل بتفضل إنك تربي أطفالك إنهم يحبوا إسرائيل ويحبوا مثلا التعايش، ولا بتربيهم إنهم ما يحبوا إسرائيل ويكرهوها؟
لا طبعا إسرائيل من يومها محتلة يعني كيف
Okay, here's the point I'm trying to make, folks. This goes on forever.
Oh, I'm really
where they're doing these interviews with these people.
Sorry,
and they don't. There's no exceptions. They do not want to live and coexist in peace with Israel. There's always
Eric.
some kind.
No, go ahead.
So
I know I'm pissed. No, wait.
So they're breaking the first and greatest commandment.
No,
Matthew
okay.
22:34.
Well,
here's the thing. Go ahead.
Well, quick thing. This is actually interesting because I had mentioned this before. The Ask Project. Gil Schuster, he does this. He and this, I forget what her name is. It's a Middle Eastern woman, but they go together and they ask questions about this, and it is pretty horrifying the answers that are that are given in this situation. And I've seen a lot of them.
Horrifying. What do you mean by horrifying?
I'll explain what I mean. Like, for example, in one of them, I could show you the video. The guy said, "Would you bomb if Iran had a nuclear weapon? Should it bomb Tel Aviv?" And the guy basically said yes. Then Gil asks a follow-up question and says, "Well, you'll die too because the nuclear fallout will kill you too." He's like, "I don't care. I want the occupier to be destroyed." I'm like, dude, okay, this is another level. This is another level.
But this is a common threat. This isn't just, we would call them extremists. These are everyday run-of-the-mill people walking down the streets in the West Bank and in the Gaza. And how do you make peace with people like that?
It's so
how do you do that?
I think
where every day they're attacking your citizens. What are you supposed to do? Just sit there and continually take it and not protect your citizens? Are you supposed to make peace with these people?
No, you're supposed to. Christ even tells us we're supposed to protect ourselves. We're supposed to take up for ourselves. We're supposed to stand up for ourselves. We're not supposed to take this crap. All right. And the greatest commandment also is that we shall love our God with all our heart, all our soul, and all our mind. Right. And he even said on these commandments, I hang all the law and the prophets. So, we don't sit there and we're not a doormat to anybody. Anybody starts coming invading us, hell no, we fight back, period. You don't let them run you over.
Well, Issa, here's the thing, brother. You have a very noble cause that you're aspiring to. However, you're aspiring to a cause is omitting the reality on the ground. It omits, and this isn't just a political hatred that these people have. This is a religious.
What created that?
It is a
what created that? What created that political reality on the ground?
Well, it's a religious. It is a religiously motivated hatred. This is what you find in the Quran, and this is what you find in the Hadith literature. This is what Muhammad believed.
And they hate Jesus. They hate Jesus. I don't care what you say.
To try to make peace with these people, for Jews to try to make peace with these people, and to being an idealist, you don't want to say, that's nothing is impossible. That's true. Nothing is impossible. But in this case, you're going to have to. Something is going to have to be done by the Palestinians before anybody in Israel would dare to even give them the time of day if they were going to talk about a two-state solution.
I think
go ahead. Let Issa talk.
I'm sorry, Rod. I think it's important that we need to look at this. There are initiatives like Seeds for Peace, where you bring Palestinian and Israeli children together. They're not 100% effective, but they allow for people to build common ground. It's very, very hard because we're also dealing with lots of like anti-Semitic tropes that happen, and unfortunately, in the Middle East, I've seen this particularly in the Arab community. There's a lot of like anti-Jewish narrative. Like it's really, really strong. I've seen it. Well, they'll say like, the Jews are running the world, like at least conspiracies like the Protocols of Elders of Zion. They've never actually met Jewish people, so they don't really know Jewish people. There's a really good series It's kind of raunchy, but it kind of showcases this. It's called Rami Youssef on Hulu. And in Rami Youssef, he's an Egyptian man. He's a Muslim man. And it talks about him, like his like relationships with women. He actually has a relationship with a Jewish woman. He has a relationship.
He's Muslim.
He's a Muslim, yes. And he
Yep,
has,
there you go. That's all you had to say. All right, enough said.
he has a relationship. He's like not really practicing, but kind of practicing. But he has a relationship with the Jewish woman. And there's this scene. It's a little raunchy. I know a lot of people here are probably very pure of mind and heart, but I'll try to share it with the least details. But basically, this man has a relationship with a Jewish woman, and there's a contraceptive that is taken, and he's exploring the contraceptive to see if there's any holes in the contraceptive. And the woman comes into the bathroom, or the toilet, whatever you want to call it, and she comes, or the washroom, she comes in, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like looking at the contraceptive to see if there's any holes. And she's like, "Why are you doing that?" And she's like, "Well, I'm being careful. I'm preventing." She's like, "Well, what's the problem? If we have a child, then, you know, we committed to this relationship. We would have a child, right?" And he's like, "Oh, no." And the problem is, it's because he had Middle Eastern parents who would not accept this. They would not accept that a child would come from this situation. It's like really kind of horrifying, and you'll see it over and over and over again. There's an uncle who says really overtly anti-Semitic things, or anti-Jewish things, because they're Egyptians or Semites. So anti-Jewish things, blatantly anti-Jewish things. And the children are like, "Dude, you can't say this. This is anti-Jewish what you're saying." But it's kind of very common in a lot of places, and it's really not healthy, and it's not well. And I'm sorry for sharing that kind of very explicit story, but it kind of exemplifies the problems that we can see in this situation.
Well, he should have just done muta marriage. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what this has to do with the tea in China, man. You know?
Well, okay,
it has everything
okay.
to do with it,
No,
actually.
okay. You guys are missing a very important piece of Israeli, history, modern history. In this point, okay, it was after the first Intifada war. No, actually before this. Okay, but anyway, okay, Israel did this thing. Okay, 1997, Israel did this thing where they actually poured money into the quote unquote occupied territories, into the Palestinian territories, where they built up the infrastructure in these areas. And they had a bunch of PLL, Hamas, and Hezbollah leaders that were locked up in prison for like 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it was. Okay. Well, and Steve, if he was here, he could back this up. He knows more about this than I do. But anyway, they get out of prison, okay, and they want to continue on the fight. I mean, they've been locked up and they've been in the hellhole in Israeli prison, okay, for a decade or two. And they get out, they want to continue on the fight, and they go into Gaza, they go into the West Bank, and like, let's continue to fight. And they're like, why are we going to continue to fight? Life is good here. We have a high standard of living. We're building all these homes. We got construction. We got, plumbers. We got, you know what I mean? The Palestinians had an extremely higher standard of living, even higher than Israelis for a certain point in time. Okay. And this is where they started. And this is where I'm talking about. It's bigger, okay, than this Islam Muslim thing. This is this is actually the Communist Manifesto. Okay? This is actually Socialism 101. You destroy, you create the problem. So what they started to do, they started to tear up the streets. They started to destroy the construction projects. In other words, they created the chaos where the Israelis would have to react, and driving them and take away the jobs, take away the infrastructure, take away everything that was giving them a standard of living that people, I mean, let's face it, if you got a high standard of living, you're not going to go out and fight the jihad. I'm sorry. Some will, but most are going to be like, no, I'm pretty much happy. I got a good life here. Life is good. I got a family, I got kids, you know what I mean? Everything's good. But no, they deliberately did this. This was deliberate. This was by design. And this is actually from Socialism 101. Gain as much power as possible. Destroy the infrastructure. blame the opposition on the destruction of the infrastructure, gain more power. This is how this works. And this is what they did. It was, I think it was after the first Intifada, or maybe before. Actually, it was before, and when they got out, this caused the first Intifada. But either way, point being is this: they're doing this to their own people, and again, Israel has been making mistakes that just feed into it. Okay, like the Shemuta Street. Okay, like and I'm sorry, these settlers, no, this is an agreement. You do not have these people come in, and that's beside the point. They're feeding their own. This is why the Abraham Accords was so important, and then a Democrat by the name of Joe Biden screwed them all up. Okay? The Abraham Accords, Kushner was right. Kushner under Trump was right. This is what you got to do. You got to get the Arab nations to pull away all the support of this nonsense, psychopathic crap, and just say, look, do you want a resort? Do you want a job? Do you want to feed your family? Or do you want to go fight the jihad? Bottom line. That's
Well,
how
when fighting the jihad, which would eventually lead to your death, results in you gaining 72 virgins in paradise. What do you think they're going to do?
Well, not only the 72 virgins in paradise for you, but your whole family. No. But this is all being supported. This is all being programmed. This is what they're putting on their media. No, that's why next week's show should be, can Islam be reformed?
Okay.
No.
Well,
thanks, Darcy. That's a quick no. I guess we don't need to do the show. There's the show right there.
Darcy.
Or
They
no,
would have to delete most of the Quran. They'd have to kick out the prophet.
That was Sharon that said, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No.
They would have to delete most of the Quran. They'd have to kick out the prophet. They would, it would just have to change. The Sharia laws would have to be dumped in the toilet too.
And I agree with you 100% on that. But here's the thing here's the thing. Our hope is.
I'm your local hippie. I'm your local hippie.
Look at here.
What? I'm here. What's your issue with me? Marshall.
Oh,
No, hold on. Marshall,
if
brother.
That's the real Marshall Gregory. If that's the real
Marshall
Gregory.
That's probably
it is.
It doesn't
matter.
Yeah. Okay.
Then
Go ahead.
who's your
Stay
wife?
on topic. Okay, just
I know who your wife is.
Let's ignore. Control.
Anyway,
ignore. Go ahead.
Anyway, here's my point. If Islam is to be reformed, as Sharon said, you got to turn it into Ken Islam. Okay?
Yeah, I agree.
And that's Marshall's wife, Kenny.
But no. But here's the thing. But I think it's a good topic. Can Islam be reformed? And we mentioned the Reformation because I'm telling you, I remember this, dude. Seriously, okay? Al Qaeda, the Taliban. I remember being told by Muslims on Pal Talk and even ISIS back in the day. And I stand out this in the beginning. ISIS were liberators. And I would say so. They liberated Mosul from the Shia. They really did. What the Shia were doing to the Sunni in Mosul, that was bad. I mean, when you're retreating and you got a bunch of prisoners, okay, and you're retreating and you're machine gunning the cell blocks and throwing in hand grenades for good measure as you're retreating, that pretty much shows how bad you are. I'm just saying, okay? But anyway, okay? They are the reformers of Islam, is what I would say. They are the actual reformers. What I would say, the Ken Islam, okay, the followers of Ken Islam, okay, are the actual, corruptors. But anyway, it'll be a good topic next week. Can Islam be reformed? That's my prelude to it. That's my position.
Okay.
That would be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it would be.
Well, Darcy
I can't
said
wait.
Darcy said, I mean, it's quick. No, it can't. This is, you have centuries
Oh, no.
of
No, we're going to go over it. Okay, I'll run the presentation, Dr. Eric.
Okay.
Dr. Eric Smith. Okay. No, because we got to do the Christian reform, what the Christian Reformation was. And I'm going to piss off a lot of our Orthodox and Catholic friends. I'm sorry. But we're going to go with the Reformation. Okay. Okay. And demonstrate the difference, what Reformation means. It doesn't mean to come up with something new. It doesn't mean to advance. It doesn't mean to say, "Hey, we're all LGBTQ plus I A B C D E F
or
everything but
Islam,
H."
Muslim, yeah.
Okay, you know what I
All
mean?
right. All right. So we got next week's topic nailed down. All right. So any other
All right.
discussion on this Palestinian issue? This is what got certain imams, undies all in a bunch, is where when you start looking at what Hamas is doing, firing rockets indiscriminately into Israel, purposely targeting civilians, unarmed civilians, because they don't have the ability to wage a what we would say some type of conventional war, even maybe in some type of unconventional war, against Israel. So is that fair to do that? No, it's not. To terrorize somebody like that has no place in civilized society. And this is why when we look at what the Palestinians do, and I was watching a video made by UNRWA. It's the UN organization that provides this food, care, facilities for the Palestinians. And they were lamenting the fact that Israel had shot and blown up hospitals or schools, or targeted schools and hospitals. Well, when you're firing missiles at if you're firing missiles from these locations at Israel, what do you expect Israel to do? I mean, and the fact is, and here's the fact isn't that it's the Israelis that are endangering these children by firing it. It's the Palestinians. This, and Golda Meir said, the only time that they're going to have peace with the Palestinians is when they learn to love their children more than they hate the Israelis, or more than they hate the Jews, or something like that. When they learn to love their children more, then this will stop. But the fact is that they hate the Jews, and it is part of the Sunnah. Go ahead.
Yep, I would just say that Israel needs to return it tenfold. They need to send 10 times the ordinance that's being sent to them, just to send the message, hey, we're done.
Yeah, well, when you start doing that, okay, let's just.
Well, I'm telling you,
I get
that's
it.
all they understand.
I get it.
That's
Okay,
all they understand.
We did that to Germany. We did that to Japan. I get that, but with the Palestinians, and I'm willing to be wrong with this, and you guys can start shouting and calling me everything but Christian. I believe that there is a large percentage of the people who are classified as these Palestinians living in Gaza, living in the West Bank, living in the Golan, that genuinely want peace. They just want to live their lives normally, be treated like any other citizen of a country would be treated. But you have this radical faction, this thread, this ideology, which is founded upon what Muhammad did. This is where you find the, following the Sunnah, this Jew hatred. And then they're reminded of that. Well, what's more important, brother? Living in comfort or living for Allah and fighting for his cause? And of course, if they follow the Sunnah, when they follow this example and they're called on the carpet, they have to say, well, fighting in the cause of Allah is the main thing. And so it can't, unless there is, and this is why I think next week's topic is oh, here it is. There we go. Thank you. I should have known. There it is right there. Peace will come when the Arabs love their children more than they hate us. There you go. So that'll be next week's topic. Who else has anything for the cause today? I think we could be done. We have 40 minutes. We're 40 minutes over because I didn't have church tonight. So there we go. Go ahead, Darcy. Go ahead.
This whole thing, it just brings to mind there's certain words in the Bible. They crave peace, but there is no peace.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Um,
And what are we doing? We're trying to achieve peace with these people. Well, how's that
right.
possible? But
And they say we want peace, but we don't want peace with that people, and they can't have it both ways. So
yeah, and like and I was telling Lisa, I think wanting to work towards peace, a peaceful resolution to this is a noble, is something noble to pursue. You know, but the reality is, it's not practical. You cannot do it with these people
Yeah.
when you understand their underpinning ideology, their underpinning beliefs, their core beliefs. It isn't us in the West, or it isn't the Jews that make it impossible. It's the Palestinians that make it impossible. When you have these people saying we're never going to have peace with these people. Why? Because it's our land. Well, if you believe in the Quran and if you believe in the Bible, and you're approaching this from a truly religious, and this is why I brought it up. Well, you're wrong also. So you're wrong politically, religiously, and socially, militarily.
Their idea of peace is completely different than our idea of peace.
I agree.
Period.
I agree. I agree with that.
That's exactly the deal. Their idea of peace is total subjugation to their bull crap. And I'm not going to do it. Sorry, ain't going to happen. And I'll be the first one
I
to
would
send
like
a
to
10,000
see.
pound bomb in there
I
and
would
let
like
them
to
know.
see. I would like to see Ed smooching that stone. Just a picture.
Wouldn't you though?
I would like to make a meme of it or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, exactly.
Isa, you got something to say?
No, I got something to say.
Isa, let Isa go, and then Brad, you've been running your mouth all show. Hold on, let Isa say something, and then we'll let you go. Go ahead, Isa.
If that's okay with you, Rod, is that all right?
No, go ahead, brother.
Okay, cool. It's kind of painful to hear what Ed said. It's not a really easy thing to swallow. About ordinances and stuff. I'm like, it's a little difficult.
Yeah, I bet it is.
I think Palestinians, or whatever term we want to use for the folks, I'm just use the word Palestinian because that's what they want to be called. I think they have a lot of trauma too, just like the Jewish community does, and it's hard. Like, I've watched a lot of those ass videos, and they're painful to watch. Like, they're really painful to watch. To hear someone say, "I would allow for a nuclear weapon to come. I don't want peace." But there are a few shining moments. There are a few shining moments in these videos where you will hear Palestinians, like you showed in that one video, where the gentleman is like, "I want peace. I don't want violence. I don't want violence." And I'm like, we need to encourage that narrative. That's the way that we're gonna move forward. And that's what I have to say about that.
All right, Red, close us out.
Okay, so first of all, Joe Biden sucks. Let's go, Brandon. But oh God, there's so much to this. Okay, so first of all,
make it quick.
Okay, well, I'm gonna make it quick. If you could interrupt me, but first of all, okay. I believe in total war. If you're going to fight a war, then you fight it totally, completely, and destroy your enemy. Now, here's the thing, okay? You look at even the biblical thing, okay? When God says to Abraham, "I'm going to give you the land, but not now," okay? Because in 400 years, what I'm trying to say is this: you can't conquer a land if you do not have enough people, okay, to subdue the land. Okay? It actually says in the Bible, otherwise the land will grow feral and it will subdue you. It will overcome you because you do not have enough people to do this. Okay? And unfortunately, let's face it, the Jews are outnumbered like 4, 5, 10 to 1 to the Israelis. So no, they cannot commit total war. Okay? All right? Unfortunately, that's the way it is. Secondly, these videos the video that you played, Eric, I want you to understand this, okay? How many people did this person ask to get that response? He could have asked 20 or 30 people, and they're all saying, "No, we want peace. We don't want to live in this." But then he finds the one person, or the second person, the third person, and that's what you see. I'm just saying, It's the machine. It's the algorithm. It's the way it is.
No, this is Brad. No. This isn't just 1 out of 20 saying. This is everybody is saying these things. They go in there.
How
They
do you
go
know that?
Well, you're right. Okay, you don't know.
Okay.
But according to the site,
so
this is what they're saying.
okay,
We went in
I
there
get
and we
you.
just asked a random person out of the blue, and this
Right.
is what we have: consistent responses from these
Okay.
people.
Well. Then the guy that I highlighted a couple shows ago, the Dawa is easy guy. Every Christian he encounters, he converts to Islam. Do you see what I'm saying? These people, this is the way this stuff works. They ask multiple people. Most people are like, "Shut the hell up! I'm walking. I'm on my way." You know.
Probably.
But
You
know what I'm saying?
Engage them. This is what they get.
Right. Okay. But either way, how many people? So you don't know this. Bottom line is this: when this is documented, you can ask Steve on this. Okay. When these prisoners, these Palestinian terrorists, when they got out of Israeli prison, okay, they wanted to fight the jihad, and they found that the standard of living was very good in the West Bank and Gaza because Israel had poured a bunch of money into it. I forgot what the program was called. They really did. They poured a bunch of money into it. They developed an infrastructure. Okay? All right? And these Palestinians are like, what? No, we can't fight the jihad if life is good for these people. So no, what we need to do is we need to make life miserable for them. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on and create havoc. A small minority of people went and created havoc, and they were supported by the Arab regimes, and it was in the media, it was in their press, it was the propaganda. Okay? We've all seen the videos of Palestinian TV. Yes, kill all the Jews, the little children. Okay? You know what I mean? The kid shows. Kill all the Jews. It's going to be great. Yay, let's have fun. Okay? All right? This is why I'm saying the Abraham Accords were the first step. Okay? Because the Abraham Accords were actually getting the funding away from the Arabs. You cut off that funding, you cut off that support, okay? And then generationally, you can begin to rebuild. This is all, I'm sorry, it is socialism, it is communism 101. What has happened to them, what is happening to us, it is a greater conspiracy, a cabal of the UN and the World League, whatever they want to call it, okay? They are actually trying to create the destruction so they can take over. I'm just saying, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I mean, I believe that the 2020 election was the fairest and freest election, and I also believe that Epstein did not kill himself, because why would I believe anything other than the standard narrative? And yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. And Joe Biden still sucks.
Yeah.
But go ahead, play the close.
Let's go, Brandon. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out for this long show. This is almost 3 hours long, guys. That's kind of like a record for us. People in chat, again, thank you for coming. And to our friend who showed up in chat, go ahead and just look at the beginning of the video. You'll see. What did he say?
Marshall,
Marshall,
you don't email me no more. I'm hurt. Dude, you said that you didn't want to talk to me no more.
What's your issues? Go ahead and review the beginning of the show, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. God bless you guys, and we'll see you next week. God bless us all. We'll see you then.
Advanced student and specialist. Peace. That the standard narrative has holes. That's what
that the Muslims were rioting against one another. And as much as we don't want to face the fact, the Muslims were lying sometimes. They were fabricating, they were embellishing, and that might be hard to accept, but that is a reality.